It's 9:34. I'll call this meeting to order. And I'll ask everyone to please turn your cell phones off or put them on vibrate if you're able. And I'm going to ask everyone that we observe a moment of silence for the passing of a former Reeve councillor, Robert Wilson. He passed away just before our last meeting, and unfortunately we didn't get noticed, but he served from 82 to 94, and I would like to observe a moment of silence for him. So. Thank you. Yeah, he put a lot of time in, as we all have, but he was most recently serving on the cemetery board, so he will be missed. With that, I'll move on to declaration of pecuniary interest if it arises. I'll remind council to declare now, or if something pops up. And we have minutes here from the August 4th, 2020 meeting. I'll look for a motion to receive them if they're in order. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and we have one zoning bylaw amendment here. I'll look for a motion to go into the public meeting for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux and seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? Carried. So this is a statutory meeting held under Section 34 of the Planning Act. The owners applicants are Brad Bideau and Gord Tucker. The property is described as Part Lot 30, Concession 10, having a municipal address of 24 Fire Road 86, Methuen Ward, having a property roll number of 153101000766618. Any person may attend the public meeting and/or make verbal or written representation either in support or opposition of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council of the corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the local planning appeal tribunal. If a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added as part to the hearing and appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. With that, I'll turn it over to Laura.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. So as the Mayor indicated, this property is owned by Brad Bideau and Gord Tucker. The recommendation for this application is that, subject to any new information or public comments received prior to or at the statutory public meeting, the draft bylaw be passed as presented and this application be approved. This application is being made to convert the recreational use of the cottage at 24 Fire Route 86 to a permanent use. The property owner has committed to entering into an agreement with the municipality that Fire Route 86 will be maintained year-round for emergency access. The subject property fronts onto Apsley Creek, which flows into Jack Lake, and is surrounded by other seasonal residential zone properties. In 2015, an amendment was made to the zoning bylaw to permit the rebuild of the dwelling and to recognize the setbacks of the existing structure. This application is to change the use, as a permanent dwelling is not permitted on a property with a seasonal residential zone. This application meets the intent of both the Township and County's official plan, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and the provincial policy statement. This application also conforms to the spirit of the comprehensive zoning bylaw in that no new structures are being proposed to be added to the property, and there will be no further encroaching towards the water yard. It is my recommendation that this application be approved.
Okay, thank you. Was there any questions from council or any comments with regards to this application? Councillor Ellis?
Just a quick question, Laura. I guess maybe for my own information or for council's information, what are the benefits of being zoned? What are the benefits of rezoning in this case from seasonal to permanent?
Sure. So through you, Mr. Mayor, in this particular instance, the cottage is being rented by people who are looking to purchase it, but they are not able to obtain the financing because it's zoned seasonal residential. So in order to get the mortgage, basically, the zoning needs to take place. Many of the properties along this section, people are living year round anyway. We don't know which properties in particular, but this one is going through the process to be zoned for a permanent use.
Okay, so in this case, it's for financial reasons. So if it wasn't for financial reasons, I'm trying to get it in my head. I've probably forgotten, I guess. The benefits of being zoned permanent versus seasonal residential.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the benefits themselves are not, like in terms of the municipality, the property owner agrees there will not be any bus services or anything like that, which you would typically get on a property with a permanent zoning. It's just the benefit is to live at the lake year round.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura.
You're welcome.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments? All right, then, so it's been explained to us. So with that, I guess if I could get a motion to receive this and go out of the public meeting and back to a regular meeting. Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so did you want to deal with the bylaw now, or did you want to leave it till the end of the meeting? What's council's thoughts here? Deputy Mayor Giroux?
My preference is to do it now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I would move to.
Okay, so we do have the bylaw here. Laura, if that's okay, we'll get that out of the way right now. So this is a bylaw to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen in order to change the zone category on the portion of land being identified as Part Lot 30, Concession 10, Methuen Ward, Special District 234, to permit a permanent dwelling on the seasonal residential property. So what's council's thoughts there? Deputy Mayor Giroux?
Motion to approve the recommendation.
Motion to approve, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. Any comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you. With that, we will, I'll get caught up here and then we'll, I'll look for a motion to turn the chair over to the Deputy Mayor Giroux so we can move into minor variances here, or Committee of Adjustment. Moved by Councillor Ellis, seconded by Councillor Webb, and all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Deputy Mayor Giroux, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Martin, members of council. I think I'm on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will call this Committee of Adjustment meeting to order and remind the members of the committee of the requirement to disclose any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof if the occasion arises. This public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. And because this is a Zoom meeting, and I do believe we have 3 minor variances, just so you know, I'm going to repeat that each time because I will not know who's coming in and who's going out of the meeting. So I'll now ask the planner for Laura for her report.
Thank you very much, Chair. So the subject property is 372 Miles of Memory Road. The property owners are Byron and Karen Backus. The agent is Bob Prince. The roll number is 1531-010-003-32100. Lot 14, concession 5, the area of the property is 0.789 acres. The zoning is Special District 161, and the official plan designation is shoreline residential. The recommendation is that minor variance application 04-20 for the reconstruction and expansion of a detached garage with a side yard setback of 4 feet and a maximum height of 16 feet, together with a total lot coverage of 19.6%, be approved with the following conditions: that the construction of the garage be done in accordance with the site plan submitted, that any requisite approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the building permit being issued, that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application and upon submission to the building department of the appropriate application, fees and supporting information as required by the chief building official, and that the balance of the information in my report be received. I would like to let the committee know that the municipality has received 1 letter of support from Ernest and Carol Kowalchuk of 356 Miles of Memory Road, so they're the neighbors. The CBCA has also indicated no concerns with this application. This application is to permit a garage located 4 feet from the side lot line with a height of 16 feet and to allow a total cumulative lot coverage of 19.6%. This application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance as outlined in the report. Additionally, this application conforms to the provincial policy statement, the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It is my recommendation that this application be approved.
Thank you, Laura, for your report. And thank you for letting us know there was 1 letter of support. And I will ask you before I go on, was there any letters of objection?
No, there weren't.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone present at this Zoom meeting wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none, is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of the application? If the applicant is present, could you please let us know? And if you have anything to add, you can do so now. Hearing none, is there any questions or comments from the members of the Committee of Adjustment? Councillor Webb?
Nope, I just, pretty straightforward, Deputy Mayor Giroux. I just like to make a motion. We go with the recommendation of the planner and approve this recommendation.
Thank you, Mayor Martin is going to second the motion. Any comments? All in favor of the motion? That motion is passed. So I will repeat. Thank you, Laura, for that. And I will repeat. This public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. And Laura, if you will give their next report.
Absolutely. So the next one is for Richard Buchanan and June Sawatsky. They do not have an agent. The municipal address is 35 Fire Route 18C. The roll number is 1531-010-006-24300. Part lot 23, concession 2. The area is 0.255 acres. The zoning is seasonal residential and the official plan designation is shoreline residential. The recommendation is that the Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance A0520 for the increase in height of a cottage by approximately 2 feet to be approved with the following conditions: that the construction of the foundation be in accordance with the site plan submitted, that any requisite approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the building permit being issued, that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application and upon submission to the building department of the appropriate application, fees and supporting information as required by the chief building official, and that the balance of the information in this report be received. The Crow Valley Conservation Authority has corresponded with the municipality and has indicated no concerns. This application is to increase the height of an existing cottage by way of structurally repairing the building's foundation, and it meets the 4 tests of the minor variance as outlined in the report. Additionally, this application conforms to the official policy statement, provincial policy statement, and growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It is my recommendation that this application be approved.
So thank you, Laura. Have we had any correspondence one way or another, Laura, on this application?
No letters of support, no letters of objection.
Thank you. Is there anyone present on the Zoom meeting wish to speak in opposition to this application? Hearing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the application?
June Swatsky, I'm the homeowner, and of course, I'd like to see this go through. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, I'll turn it over to the committee. Is there any questions or comments? Mayor Martin?
Yeah, once again, it's pretty straightforward here. I'd be prepared to make a motion that we approve this variance.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. It has been, Councillor Pomeroy is going to second that motion. Any further comments? Call the motion. All those in favor? That motion is passed. Thank you again, Laura, and I think we have one more.
We do, you're not done with me yet.
So I will repeat, just in case there's somebody come in on new, that this public meeting is held under Section 45 of the Planning Act and its regulations. And if you would please give your next report, Laura.
Absolutely. So this application is for municipal address 64, Fire Route 31B. The property owner is John Tacos. The agent is Bob Prince. The roll number is 1531010032950. Part lots 12 and 13, concession 5. The area is 0.581 acres. The zoning is seasonal residential, and the official plan designation is shoreline residential. The recommendation is that the minor variance application A0620 for the construction of a side deck located 35 feet 10 inches from the high water mark with an area of no more than 260 square feet and a rear deck with an area no more than 70 square feet be approved with the following conditions. That the construction of the decks be done in accordance with the site plan submitted, that any requisite approval be received by applicable approval authorities prior to the building permit being issued, that a building permit be issued within 12 months of the approval of this application, and upon submission to the building department of the appropriate application, fees and supporting information as required by the chief building official, and that the balance of the information in my report be received. The municipality has received correspondence from the Crow Valley Conservation Authority indicating no concern with the application. This application is to construct a side and rear deck of 260 square feet and 70 square feet respectively, and it meets the 4 tests of the minor variance as outlined in my report. Additionally, this application meets the intent of the provincial policy statement and the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It is my recommendation that this application be approved.
Thank you, Laura. The only correspondence you've had then is with Crow Valley?
That's correct.
Thank you. Is there anyone present in the Zoom meeting wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Hearing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor? Is there any questions or comments from the Committee of Adjustment? Councillor Pomeroy?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the recommendation.
Been moved by Councillor Pomeroy, seconded by Councillor Webb. This application go forward and be approved. Any further comments? I'll call the motion. All those in favor? That motion is passed. So thank you, Laura, for your reports. I think that's it.
That's it.
I'll take a motion to turn the gavel back over to Mayor Martin. Moved by Councillor Ellis and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All those in favor? Carried. Mayor Martin, the chair is yours.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Giroux. That went by pretty good there. So we'll go into delegations now. And our first delegation is Gerald Brunton with the Havelock Seniors. Welcome, Gerald. Connecting to audio. You there, Gerald?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there you are. Let me turn this up a bit. So welcome, Gerald.
Thank you.
Yeah, the sound isn't too good there. I don't know if it's the same for everyone. I can hear you, but just barely.
Not very well.
There we go. All right. Yeah, we have you down as delegation to talk about the seniors grant application.
Right.
Did you have any questions or concerns there? Councillor Ellis has been working with you on trying to come up with a grant that would help you.
I haven't had many concerns. I know you guys are working great with us to try to help us get it, so.
Can't hear.
Okay. Yeah, the sound isn't too good here, Bianca, but we can move forward here. So Gerald is on the agenda here to bring forward a question with regards to the seniors grant there, and Councillor Ellis has been working with them. So did you have anything there, Councillor Ellis?
Yes, excuse me, through you, Mr. Mayor, until we get a little bit of a volume issue addressed there. Yes, I've been working a bit with the seniors, like other facilities due to COVID. They've had no way to generate any kind of income to sustain the facility. So through some of the grant applications that were available and through the help with Gwendolyn, we have an opportunity here to help the seniors, and if Gwendolyn's on board there, maybe she would like to make some comments about the specific grant.
Okay, Gwendolyn, are you?
Sorry. Yeah, I do have a report that's coming up later in the meeting asking council to support Trillium Foundation grant. So the township can offer that to the seniors group. So I don't know if you want to deal with that a little bit later in the meeting as per the agenda.
Yeah, we could maybe get an update from Gerald of what we realize the troubles that it's been for all the organizations in our community to try and raise funds to keep surviving. And I'm sure you're no different than any others. There's a number of them out there that have had no income since probably mid-March. And you've come up with something. This grant that we were looking at is for capital projects. And unfortunately, a lot of them isn't capital they need. It's the operating that they need help in. You're thinking maybe with some capital expenses, you could maybe, it would help you come out of this?
So since the sound's not working, so I've met with Gerald a couple of times now. So basically the grant is to look at different capital expenditures that will help them do a different stream of revenue. So they're proposing these capital expenditures to go into doing bingos and such. So that will change their revenue stream from what they were doing with cards, etc., because that's not open yet with the COVID.
Okay. All right, well, I'm still not hearing Gerald, but we will be dealing with this later in the agenda, and you know, and we will be looking at if there's a way to help. Like I say, you have got a capital project here that this grant would fit into, where it was put out there for all not-for-profits, and I know some of the legions weren't able to use it because it wasn't capital they needed help with. It was put out there for a lot of places like legions, and unfortunately, I think the first legion to be hit right now is the one in Campbellford. It looks like it's closing. I don't know where ours stands right now, but the comments that I heard out there was this is for capital, and that's not what they need. But, so moving forward, Gerald, as we get in later in the agenda, we'll be dealing with this Trillium and see if we can get staff to help you put something together and get something in there to help you out.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Gerald.
All right then. So I'll take a motion to receive that delegation, moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, and seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Gerald. So with that, we'll move into our second delegation. I don't know if we're dealing with the two of them together, but for our next delegation, we're joined with Ontario Clean Water Agency and Sewer Technologies in order to provide us with an update on the work being done to prepare our township for future development. Council and staff have been working hard behind the scenes to address capacity and infrastructure issues that we're preparing for the next phase of development. So if we could get some of this stuff out of the way, it might help us go forward to start looking for a developer for the next phase. So I welcome, I don't know if we're doing this all together, there's quite a few on the screen here. So I don't know who the lead is. I'll start with Amy. Welcome, Amy.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us today. There are quite a few of us here because we did invite some of our project experts, subject matter experts, to come and speak to you about the different things that we have going on. So we do have Amber Copeland, your Senior Operations Manager, and Brad Robinson, your Duty Operator, who are here to answer any questions that are pertinent to your specific facilities. We have Natalie Colantino from our Engineering Services Division. She's going to give you a summary review of the functional servicing study that was done a couple of years ago. And then we'll hand it over to Sonia Semenyak. She is our subject matter expert in all things collection and distribution, and she's going to speak to the analysis of the flow data. And we also have Wes Henneberry here, our Safety Process and Compliance Manager, and he's going to speak to some of the options that are available to you right now. So right now I'm going to turn it over to Natalie. I can't hear you, Natalie. You're still on mute.
By mistake, sorry about that. Good morning. My name is Natalie Colantonio. I'm a project engineer at Aqua in our project planning and delivery group. Is there a slideshow, or are we going to be sharing that on my end?
Bianca, how will she share the slideshow? We do have it in our package, but were you going to share the screen, Bianca?
Yes, I'm about to share the screen right now.
Okay.
Oh, I lost it. Francis?
Okay, great, thank you. So just a bit of a background. So we were requested to summarize the findings of a report done by Engage Engineering in 2018. So it was a functional servicing study done for the township, and the purpose was to identify the servicing requirements for a proposed development in the south part of the village of Havelock. So just to note that we are just presenting the findings of the report. This is not a technical review done by us or a verification of the data presented in the report. We are just summarizing the findings. So for the analysis, the report uses the following inputs and assumptions. So the new development will be broken up into 3 phases. The first phase being the construction of 7 homes, construction of the new Smith Drive, and at the same time, the construction of the Peterborough housing development. And to my knowledge, this has been completed already. And then phase 2 consists of an additional 23 homes, the extension of Smith Drive, and at the same time, the construction of the Havelock long-term care facility. And then in phase 3, an additional 101 homes and those associated roadways to connect them. And just assume that the drinking water system in the area, which is 3 wells and their associated treatment systems and pumping systems, that system will be providing the drinking water for these this new development, and that any wastewater generated in this new development will be conveyed to the existing Havelock sewage treatment plant. So just an overview of the report. The purpose is really to address some key questions related to servicing. So, oh, sorry about that. For the water servicing, obviously, if you have additional development, new houses, you're going to have more people. That results in increase in demand for water. So we're looking at to see if the wells have enough capacity for this additional demand. And an increase in water consumption results in an increase in wastewater. So it's looking at, does the sewage treatment plant have enough capacity? And also with a increase in development, you're looking at an increase in paved surfaces, which has an impact on stormwater management. So the report is also looking at how do we control stormwater during heavy rainfall events. So for the water servicing, the report reports that the current drinking water system capacity is just over 2,300 meters cubed per day. And looking at the existing average daily flow, which is just over 600 meters cubed per day, it's well within the capacity of the system. And with the proposed development and the increase in flow, that will add some additional demand up to 950 meters cubed per day, but it's still well within the capacity of the current system. So overall, the proposed development is still within the capacity and there's no modifications required on the water side. So in terms of wastewater, the report looked at the data sort of from the worst case scenario over the past couple of years. So it looked at wastewater consumption within, I believe, the last 5 years, and 2018 had the highest flows into the wastewater treatment plant. So the analysis done in terms of the sanitary servicing was based on the year 2018, where the existing average daily flow was just over 1,300 meters cubed per day. And that is over the capacity of the sewage treatment plant, which is just at 1,200 meters cubed per day. So if you add the flows from the proposed development, that would further be over the capacity of the plant. So overall, the plant would then require an upgrade in capacity before building the new development. And then with the higher wastewater flows, in order to convey those to the treatment plant, some sections of sewer will need to be replaced with larger diameter pipes. So particularly on County Road 30, there are some sections that are even at the existing conditions pretty close to their full capacity. So with the additional flows from the development, it will exceed that capacity. So some sections of those pipes would need to be upgraded to a 300 millimeter diameter pipe as recommended in the report. So in terms of stormwater management, just a bit of a background. So there will be an increase in paved surfaces, and this prevents rain from naturally soaking into the ground and being filtered and replenishing aquifers. So instead, water will run into storm drains, drainage ditches, and this can carry debris and other pollutants into streams and rivers and other natural waterways. So this can cause flooding, erosion, turbidity, which is just an increase in solids in the water, and can even lead to storm and sanitary sewer system overflow. So the report proposes a stormwater management pond as a method of control. It has an approximate area of 10,000 meters squared. And the purpose of the pond is to collect the rainfall and surface water runoff. And it can provide erosion and flooding control and improve the quality of the water by allowing solids to settle out to the bottom before it replenishes back into natural waterways. And then during large rainfall events or storms, it can hold back water and release it at a controlled rate. So in summary, for the water system, no additional work is required to increase the capacity. It's well within the capacity of the system. For wastewater, the system is currently at its capacity, so an upgrade would be required before building a new development. And same with the wastewater sewers. There are some sections that would need to be replaced with larger diameter pipes. And some sort of stormwater management controls were proposed to be constructed in order to provide some sort of stormwater management. So those are the conclusions from the report. And it was recommended that an inflow and infiltration study would be to take place because a large portion of the flows going into the sewage treatment plant can be contributed to inflow and infiltration. So I believe this was done already either last year or this year. And then moving forward in the short term, a plan should be put in place to increase the capacity of the sewage treatment plant as it is approaching or is at the current capacity right now. And that involves doing a class environmental assessment as you are increasing the capacity of a plant and changing what's set out in the ECA. And then also implementing any solutions that were found in the study or the inflow and infiltration study. And ultimately in the long term, upgrading the sewage treatment plant and the sewers, as mentioned before, and the proposed stormwater management plan to be part of that overall development. So I believe there was some sort of inflow and infiltration study done previously, but just to do a bit of a background of what's involved in terms of what studies are typically done and the costs and the timelines associated with a in-depth inflow and infiltration study. Sonia, I don't know if you want to speak to what we typically do at Aqua. We can just go to the next slide. Okay, so just a bit of a background on inflow and infiltration. So it's clear that a significant amount of wastewater going into the treatment plant it exceeds the amount of drinking water leaving the well system. So that would account, inflow and infiltration will account for approximately 50% of that daily wastewater flow.
So yeah, hi Natalie, I'll jump in. I was on mute for a while. I'm like, huh. You went
No
where I
problem.
wanted to go though. Yeah, so generally when we talk about I&I, everybody kind of treats it as one big issue, I&I, and it's two separate issues. So when we do a plan, we like to kind of separate the two out to quantify how much is inflow and how much is infiltration. The main difference being that inflow is stormwater coming in. So if you have roof leaders that are connected, that's inflow. If you have water that's just coming in during a storm and it's just too much and either your sewers aren't combined, so you've got stormwater going into your sanitary sewers, this is all inflow. When you're talking about infiltration, that's groundwater. So groundwater will eventually get into your system because your sewer pipes are bad or your manholes have cracks, things like that. So in order to find out how much water is coming in from each of those, you kind of do a bit of a flow analysis. And the very first step is a rudimentary flow analysis where you look at how much water you're producing, how much wastewater you're using, how much water increases after a rain event, how much water increases during the spring thaw. And Natalie will actually be presenting some of those numbers to you later so you can kind of see how much is going where. If you wanted to do a really in-depth analysis, you could actually stick a flow meter into the sewer in various points and you can find out how much water is coming from where, and then instantaneously comparing it to the precipitation you've received. The numbers we're looking at here are daily numbers because that's what we're looking at and we're comparing it to a daily precipitation. So it's not as exact, but it'll start to give you good numbers. So that's one thing that, oh yeah, if you can scroll to the next slide, I might have jumped ahead a bit. Yeah, so right now inflow is the storm water. It comes from above ground. That's the key The next slide would be the infiltration, which is the groundwater that comes in through your pipes. So what you guys have done with the sewer technologies inspection is you're looking for infiltration. You're looking at the sewer pipes. How much shape are they in? And this is generally a really good start. A lot of municipalities don't do this first because it tends to be one of the more, well, I don't want to say more expensive, but it tends to cost a bit more than just doing inflow studies or doing a high level study, which is a first range. These pictures that you see here are actually from one of our municipalities, not yours. But this shows you an example of how you can see infiltration coming into your sewer. So the first one, you've got a drip coming in through a joint. The middle one, you've got a crack along the top of your pipe and there's water coming in through there. And then the last slide is just a mess. The whole thing's collapsed and not only do you have a high water level, water's coming in like crazy. So if you resolve these issues, you can solve a lot of your infiltration problem. You can do it in the form of spot repairs. You can do it in the form of lining whole sections. This is a really good approach to get rid of a lot of your infiltration. So this component is the one that has been done in terms of an I&I study. So there were a few more things that we needed to do. One was the flow analysis, which Natalie will talk about, which we kind of backtracked and had a look at to see if we were addressing the right things. Sorry, I keep pointing with my cursor and you guys can't see it. The full I&I study, if you did something really huge, it would be really expensive. It consists of doing a visual inspection of properties to see if anybody's got roof leaders that are attached. You generally need permission from the homeowners to get on their properties to do that. It's looking at sump pumps and that you would need to get into the properties to do. So it can be politically a little bit contentious sometimes. You can do a manhole inspection. Manholes can often identify really quick and easy repairs. So if you've got a manhole, a lot of times the top of the manhole just under the road is made of bricks or grade rings, and those can deteriorate and inflow will come right in. So normally if you do a sewer inspection with a camera, they'll also comment on the shape of your manholes, or you can do them independently. SLRAD is something we like to do. If you're doing a manhole inspection, you can throw SLRAD in there, and all that is it's an acoustic product. I won't go into the detail, but it detects how blocked your pipe is. So it's just extra information while we're there. If you're doing CCTV inspection, which you guys did, you don't need to do it. And then the key component I think that's missing in this case would be smoke testing. Smoke testing will find inflow. So it essentially finds where private plumbing is connected to your sanitary sewer. It's called smoke testing, but it's an inert fog. It's harmless, and you essentially put it in the sewer, and it'll come out wherever your points of inflow are. And then CCTV. For deliverables, you'll usually start with your flow analysis, and we'll show you a little preliminary flow analysis we did in a minute. It'll go through your inspection results, next step recommendations, and then it'll put it together in a shovel-ready project so that if funding comes up, you're ready and raring to go to do any kinds of improvements. Next slide, please. So if you're looking at an I&I study, we did one up north. Actually, the pictures that you saw previously were from our north. It was about 9 kilometers. The manhole inspections, Aqua did. We did the smoke testing as well. That was the approximate price for 9 kilometers. CCTV, you're generally looking at $10 a meter. If they have to do a lot of flushing, you can add on to that. And then project management and engineering. So a full I&I study, you're looking at about $180,000 for the study. Next slide, please. The timeline here is how long it takes to do it. For smoke testing, you can do about 5 kilometers a day. So it works out to about $1.10 a meter, $1.50 a meter. Manhole inspections, they can do about 40 a day. If there's no traffic and they're fairly close together, you can do more of them. SLRAT, we just add 2 minutes per manhole because they're standing there listening to the technology detect blockage. And then the CCTV totally depends on the condition of the pipe. If you're looking for infiltration, we recommend you do it during wet weather so that you can see things coming in, because sometimes the entry point for the water will be so small that you can't see it. And you can do about 300 meters per day for that. Next slide, please. Oh, I'll give this back to Natalie for this one.
Okay, thanks, Sonia. So just a bit of background on the sewage treatment plant upgrade. So from the report, it seems that the plant itself is already at capacity. If you look at sort of the worst case scenario, flows from 2018, where the flows seem to be the highest. Next slide, please. So a quick snapshot of the process flow of the plant itself. The capacity is limited by the SBR, the sequencing batch reactors, which have a combined capacity of 1,200 meters cubed per day. And this is noted in the ECA as well, that this is the firm capacity of the 2 SBRs. Next slide, please. So in order to apply for an expansion beyond the current rated capacity and to change the ECA, a Class EA, Class Environmental Assessment is required. So it's really a planning and decision-making tool, and the objectives are to minimize any adverse environmental effects by doing this upgrade, and to consider any environmental factors into the decision-making. So this would be considered a Schedule C Class EA because we are, the plan is to expand the existing sewage treatment plant beyond its existing rated capacity. So this is just a really quick diagram of the features of an EA. And because it's a Schedule C, there's 5 phases that will need to be, that are required to be conducted in order to complete the Class EA. So really the whole process consists of identifying the problem, and then identifying alternative solutions, and then identifying alternative design solutions for the preferred concept or preferred solution. And then ultimately this will lead to completing an environmental study report. And the process can be time consuming because it does require consultation with the public and other stakeholders like First Nations and regulatory agencies. And it's really looking at alternative solutions and their impact on the environment. So you would have to conduct an archaeological investigation and look at species at risk and other studies like that in order to finalize the report and complete the environmental study report. So with completing a Class EA, before leading into the design of whatever proposed upgrade is determined, this is an approximate upgrade timeline of going from you know, starting their Class EA to completing construction and having that increased capacity. And again, this would vary in terms of the complexity of the upgrade that is determined. But you're looking at, you know, possibly 8 to 10 months for a Class EA, another 8 to 10 months for design, and then possibly 2 years for the overall construction. And we've included a sort of a broad range of costs for each activity, really for just planning purposes only. And again, it'll depend on the complexity of the upgrade and the timelines. But including the Class EA and construction, engineering and design could be anywhere from 2.5 to 6.6 million. So overall, some key decisions for the council, as recommended in the report, it's clear that inflow and infiltration has a large impact on the wastewater flows into the treatment plant. So doing an I&I study would be sort of the first step, and I believe that's been conducted already. This can help reduce the flow of sewage and really get an accurate picture of what the flows are coming into the plant. So again, this would review also what has been done for the study, which Sonia and I have looked at up to this point. And then the next step, seeing that the capacity is of the plan is sort of being reached at this point, planning the upgrade, which would involve, you know, investigating any available funding, developing a project plan and timeline, and getting ready for sort of a shovel-ready status. And these are things that AQUA can help with as well. We can take questions at this point. I know we had some additional slides added on as we did our own sort of flow analysis last week. I don't know if that PowerPoint is available at this point. Oh, there we go. Great. So we did our own sort of flow analysis because the report only looked at 2018 in their analysis, looking at sort of the worst case scenario. So we've plotted the last 5 years of incoming flow data into the sewage treatment plant. So you can see that there was a significant increase at 2018, and you can see the capacity, which is indicated by that red line. It has been exceeded throughout the past 5 years. And really it coincides with sort of that spring thaw event where you're getting melting snow and additional rainfall. And you can see really it's exceeded maybe a couple times a year, but then especially in 2018, it goes way over the capacity. And it's sort of the number of times it's been exceeding the capacity has increased slightly over the last couple of years. If we go to the next slide. So if you look at the average daily flow over the years, it is slowly increasing with a spike sort of in 2018. So the capacity of the sewage treatment plant has slowly, the flows coming in have sort of been reaching closer to the capacity of the plant. So our current assumption is that the plant is currently at 75% of the rated capacity. So there's sort of two ways to look at it, but right now there is some capacity theoretically in the plant from an operational standpoint. But in terms of compliance with the ECA, now is the time where you'd need to start looking at increasing the capacity of the plant now that you're at sort of that 75% mark. Yep, next slide. So we've looked a little bit more in depth at the flows from the past 5 years. So I know it's a little small there. So in blue, that's the raw wastewater flow into the sewage treatment plant. And in green is the water leaving the well system. So you can kind of compare the demand for water and whatever is coming into the wastewater treatment plant. So in 2015, you can see that they're pretty much level, and there are some spikes in the wastewater flow, and that can coincide with precipitation, which is in red. So you can see as there's a higher precipitation event, this will result in sort of a peak into wastewater flow. But overall, they're pretty much level in terms of demand. And just in yellow here, you'll see we've highlighted a spring thaw event, so really a big peak in precipitation and then a wastewater flow into the plant. So 2016 was fairly similar. You could see there's multiple spring thaw events when sort of the temperatures would drop in the winter. You'd have some snow melt and then it would freeze again, and sort of that process would repeat. But overall, the wastewater flow and the water demand are relatively consistent. And then 2017, you can see the wastewater flows into the plant are really starting to sort of jump and deviate away from the water demand. And this is coinciding typically with high precipitation events, but not always. So this also might indicate there may be some kind of infiltration and inflow, particularly inflow issues. And I believe these were noted in the AQUA reports done yearly at the plant, that there was some increase in flows, wastewater flows into the plant, and it's suspected this was due to an I&I issue. So in 2018, which is the data used in the Engage report, you can see that there's a significant deviation between the water demand and the wastewater flows going into the plant. And this trend is repeated, maybe not so much to the extent as 2018, but in 2019, there's a significant sort of deviation from the water demand. and it sometimes coincides with precipitation, but not always. And then in 2020, obviously we don't have the full year, but it's sort of the same trend where we can see that there's some deviation from the water demand and not always coinciding with sort of a high precipitation event. Okay, so that's sort of our analysis. So do you mind actually just scrolling up sort of back to that summary table, which I think sort of summarizes, that's perfect, thank you. What the plant is currently at. Obviously the report really only looked at the 2018 data at where the plant was at 102% of the capacity. But overall, where we're looking at right now in 2020, our assumption is the plant is at 75% of the rated capacity. And again, just to reiterate, from an operations standpoint, there may be some capacity to take on the new development, but at the same time, from a compliance sort of view, we are sort of exceeding the capacity of the ECA, and this would require looking into doing an upgrade. Yeah, so any questions from this point, or if Amber or Sonia, anybody has anything else to add?
I'll leave it to if they have anything to add, but thanks for your report. There's a lot of detail in here, and there's a lot of reading on the weekend. The one thing that I guess when I've seen Sewer Technologies was going to be a part of the meeting, a lot of the stuff we've dealt with already, like this council and previous councils have been working on the infiltration problem for, it seems like forever, and we don't seem to be getting anywhere. So we put a lot of money into this, and we've hired the experts to help us out. And I'm just wondering, like we knew that the plant is going to have some upgrades, and we have talked about a new cell and all those things that are needed. We know that, but the infiltration problem, as you said, is like the plant it'll take 1,200 meters or cubic meters, and it was at 600. 2018 was a bad spring. I remember that well. We had a lot of issues, and you know, you will get those things happening probably in the future. So we do want to plan for the future, and like I say, I had thought that Sewer Technology was going to give some results of the testing that they did in the spring, because they did do all the video checking and all that stuff when the flow rates were high. So was there any results there as far as to try and slow down some of the flow that was coming in? I don't know who to ask here.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. He was planning to attend, but that he was called away to an emergency. I did ask if he could provide some speaking notes, just so that we would be able to answer, but he didn't respond back. So it must be a pretty good emergency. What he did mention is that they did do the work. They have it in that binder. It's unfortunate that it's hard for us to understand it. So I was hoping that he could give us more or less a Cole's Notes version of it. But he did mention that he did see quite a few laterals, which would be the possibly inflow or sump pump, like Sonia had mentioned.
Yeah, Amber, can I jump in a little bit?
Yeah, please.
So, yeah, for the infiltration in the sewer, the underground stuff, there's kind of three components to it. One is the sewer main itself, which Sewer Technologies addressed. One is the manholes, which they've also addressed some of them, or well, the ones that they saw. And then there's also the laterals coming in from the private side. So as Amber was alluding to, there is the inflow that comes in from the sumps, but it could also be that the laterals themselves are damaged, and that's private side. So it is possible to inspect those from the mainline sewer using a side scanner camera to kind of run along the main line and then shoot a side scanner camera up to have a look. Otherwise, you could come in from the clean out if there is one. But then again, once you identify inflow or infiltration coming in from the lateral, how do you fix it? Because generally speaking, the lateral is on the private side and the private homeowner has to replace it. And they may or may not be willing to do that because it's an added expense. Or you could share the cost or get funding or what have you. There's a number of options for it. So addressing the sewer is usually the main thing to do and the thing to do first. Manholes are also an easy thing to do, and then you can get into the laterals. So you may not be addressing all the infiltration through there. I think what will be interesting to see is in 2021, when we get the melt numbers from there, to see what kind of a reduction we're seeing in the flows, and then you can kind of have a better idea of how much remains outstanding to address. And then something in the back of the mind, which always happens a little bit, is when you're dealing with water, you can take one point out and fix it, and then it kind of flows, and you might get a little bit more coming in at the next point, which if it was fixed is great, but if you didn't see it at the time of the original inspection, you may have a little bit of tweaking to do. So it's a complicated issue. No municipality, unless they're, I don't know, someone like Toronto or someone with a huge whack of cash, can address all of it at once. It does tend to be an incremental thing, and you've taken the good first steps. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll open up to council. Councillor Webb and then Councillor Pomeroy.
Yeah, so in terms of a spring thaw event, would that result in more inflow or infiltration?
In the infiltration in the sewer pipes itself, generally. If you're melting over ground and it's coming in, then it's inflow.
It'd be inflow? Okay. Because just looking at the data, I realize we use 2018, but if I look at especially 2019 and 2020, since we did the work, basically besides the spring thaw event, I think everything has gone down to normal, right? I'm not saying obviously for our new development, we're going to need to upgrade and whatnot, but I think the few repairs that we've made have made a significant difference. And I think what we're dealing with is, yeah, just basically trying to figure out whether it's precipitation or these spring thaw events is really where we seem to be getting hammered. So I don't, in terms of dealing with that, is like, would that water, ideally, would that water be diverted into, say, like a wastewater pond, or would it be diverted to the actual plant itself? Like ideally, if we had both, where would that water go? Obviously we don't, but.
I think the idea is for the infiltration not to come to the plant. So if you did the stormwater management pond, I think ideally that's where it should go. I don't know if I was muted. Oh,
yeah, yeah, sorry, it takes me a while to hit my mute button sometimes. Yeah, anything that's not coming from the sanitary sewers, from the toilets and the drains and things like that, should be diverted somewhere else ideally. So if you've got a nice watertight underground system, which nobody does, even with design, there's usually a little bit of infiltration. But if you've got it watertight, it generally stays in the ground and stays away from your wastewater treatment. It's the stuff that comes over ground that needs to be directed to the stormwater, and that's what Natalie was talking about with the stormwater retention pond that may be developed, because now you've got more impervious layers and everything's going to go into the ground now, or isn't going to go into the ground now. So yeah, so the surface water should be diverted, and the only way to protect the groundwater from getting into your pipes is to improve your pipes.
Yeah, because just from my analysis, when I look at the data, I think, and I know how much work we've done in doing rebuilds on the streets here in town over the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of these streets have new sewers and whatnot, so I feel pretty good about what I see here in the data. Obviously, 2018 is a spike, but I think we all know what happened there in terms of there was other construction work there that I think caused that event. So the numbers have gone back down, and what I'm really concerned about is yeah, just these high rates in terms of spring thaw events or high precipitation events, and being able for us to, you know, have a play. So I think that's where my concern would be more than I would say, you know, trying to rebuild all the sewers in town just by looking at the data.
Okay. I don't know if anybody wants to respond to that, but Barry, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I got a couple. You know, is it fair to us and Ontario Clean Water Agency
you know, sewer technologies. Have you got a report? Do you understand it? We don't have any report. They did a substantial amount of work, and what did they fix? You know, has it decreased? I just can't say that that it's complete without somebody here from sewer technologies to give us a report on what has been done. It's great to see graphs and everything else, but there still has to be some report from those people as to how bad is our system? How much did they repair? They did a substantial amount of work this past year. And I feel it's only fair that we have the information. And Amber, could you maybe get in touch with those people? And I would hope that we could even have a live meeting somewhere, because I'm not into one of these meetings here, because you just can't ask the right questions and sit and talk, you know, normally as you would, you know, at an open session. And I would like to invite, you know, you and the sewer technologies there. Just graphs are great, but I want to know what they have to say also.
Absolutely. I think he's pretty disappointed he couldn't be here today. So I did give him an email that basically said, I want to see the following for council, like what work you did, was it successful, any recommendations, things that you had trouble with, things you noted, recommendations for going forward. He had all that, but emergency pushed him away, and it's really unfortunate. So I'm up for having a live meeting as well. We can all stand in the arena and shout out, but I think it would be good for everyone to take a look at, you know, the binder that they provide works for them. And when you do provide it to, I understand, bigger like cities, you know, they have somebody that can read this and make sense of it. For us, we need the Pools Notes version. I need him to tell us, you know, what, actually Sonia would even be great if she could come down during that meeting, because she could help interpret it quite well. But I'll definitely do a follow-up, and he will come to council and speak.
Yes, and I'm sure that, you know, that the two parties come together, you know, well, three, but we could get the arena upstairs, and there's still lots of room to do our safe socializing or social distancing. And I feel it would be more of a constructive meeting than, yeah, this is great. We got the graphs and you know, what's next and so on and so forth. But some of the what next we have completed, but we don't have the data for it. And the other report that we got from, I guess our engineer was new development, phase 1, 7 homes, Smith Drive and Peterborough Housing Development. That isn't the way we started out to begin with. And I wanted to know, there's one question. When we started out with the long-term care, there was 128 beds, and it was factored into, at least I'm sure that it was factored into the figures of our system being able to handle it. Now they got phase 2, 23 homes. Well, looks like we're not going to have that, you know, extension of Smith Drive and Havelock long-term care. Well, I think the long-term care should have been ahead of the Peterborough housing. That's what we've been fighting for years and years. And then phase 3, 101 homes. Well, we know that we're going to have to update there. But I was under the impression that the long-term care and the Peterborough housing development were already calculated into the figures for our existing plan. So could you check on that for me?
I think that's what'll come out, Barry. I think you're right 100%. We need to get together because I think sewer technology is the key thing that's missing today. We've spent a ton of money. We've been working on this for years, and the work that we did in the spring, even with the laterals, if there's something there, and we have to do a smoke test to see if there is a problem there or whatever. We haven't really held back as council. We've been moving forward on this, trying to get it going, and I think we're okay still, but we have to, and we knew we had to do some more work. That's not the issue here. We have been doing the work, and we need to see the results of the work we've done so far. I'll turn it over to, are you done there, Barry? Just Dave had a comment there.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. I'm just relying on Amber to maybe set something up for us locally here, and
I think the new number.
Lots of faith in you, Amber. And by the way, where's Justin? Is he gone?
No, he's moving up in the world.
Is he?
No,
Okay.
we put him in Deloro. He's the 1M team lead now, so.
Okay. No,
Brad's our go-to.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Dave, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. Councillor Pomeroy actually touched on 2 or 3 of the points that I was going to make. First of all, I'd like to say to Aqua, thank you for your presentation. It's well done. It's a little bit, not being a water specialist or a sanitary sewer specialist, it is hard to read. Not hard to read, but you have to read it several times. There's a lot in there. That being said, thank you for your presentation. And Councillor Pomeroy did touch on some of the things, and also Mayor Martin and Councillor Webb, that we have been proactive, and those figures were in all our proactive before that Smith property started. And that's what we were told. Everything was in there. Things change, water gets in, filtration, I understand all that. However, I am disappointed that we didn't have our report from the technology people that did the work. If there's emergencies, I understand that. But I'm not sure the date. Our chief building official and I talked about this the other day, and I can't find the old report. We did lateral inspections here. Every home, every business was done in this municipality before Smith Drive. So that report's got to be here somewhere. And I know we did change some of the businesses that where their water was going. So there's a lot to be done. And there's we need full data, and we need an explanation to what we have to do to move forward. So that's how we have an open meeting with everybody present. I agree with Councillor Pomeroy. We need to sit down and hash this out. I don't want to spend taxpayers' money unnecessarily, but we have to look to the future at the same time. Tomorrow's future is today, so we have to figure this out today. Thank you.
Yeah, right on, Dave. And that's I think sewer technologies is the missing link here that is going to help us. Your report is great here, and we've seen a lot of this before. And there is some activity that we're still going to have to proceed with, and we realize that. We've talked about it last budget about things. It's always in our budget discussions on how we keep moving forward to be able to upgrade the facility over there and help the community grow. So we just need to see if the work that we've done so far, we want to see the results of that, and then that'll help us move on to the next plan here as far as the schedule that you have for the upgrades. And we have to get on with it. We'll have to get that on the table here as soon as today to get on to the next part, but we need to know what sewer technology is. Got Councillor Ellis, you had something there, and then Councillor Webb.
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. Everything has been pretty well covered here. I just again like to thank Aqua for their good detailed report. I think we're right on. We're missing the technology report and the report that Deputy Mayor Giroux just spoke to. That was an important piece of information. Those 2 pieces of information or reports for our next meeting will be vitally important for our next steps. So just thank everybody for the good report there. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Webb.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we invite Sewer Technologies and everybody else that was here today back to the next meeting so we can get this going.
Okay. All right, moved by Councillor Webb. I'll get the seconder there first. Deputy Mayor Giroux seconds that. Amber, you had something?
Yeah, so what I wanted to mention is it is disappointing the sewer tech wasn't here, but I don't think that it's maybe best not to put all our eggs in one basket. That at the end of the day, like you said today, we need to be working on the expansion for the wastewater plant, and that we're completely in agreement. We're already in the process of getting that moving for council and the township. Another option that we wanted to just mention, it's something we're looking into, and it would, at the end of the day, support the wastewater plant, because I know what they're saying, that we're at capacity. Yes, but we seem to be only reaching capacity in the springtime. Wes has been doing some work behind the scenes for the township, and if it's okay, I was just hoping he could speak to that for a couple minutes.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. So I've been speaking with the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, with the local district office, and also approvals regarding the utilization of the existing lagoons that are on site at where the wastewater plant is. So they were decommissioned as part of the upgrades to the plant, but they're still sitting there idle and they can be used potentially. So right now I'm in talks with the ministry and more importantly, the approvals branch in getting approval to kind of utilize those lagoons. It would be more of the thinking is it'd be more of a maintenance than anything. So because they're already there, they've had an EA done, their environmental assessment done, that we could utilize those as part of the process for storage, not capacity, and therefore it would just be an ECA, environmental compliance amendment. So the timeline's a lot quicker. It would be more of a short-term solution and potentially could be put into a long-term solution as well for capacity and storage. We've used the lagoons in other facilities that we operate around the province, and it's worked well in those areas where you can kind of, during those peak flows, you can kind of push the flow over to the lagoons, and then during the off-peak flows, you just kind of slowly bring it back into the system. It would be more of a short-term solution, but I just thought I'd bring out the idea that we had in discussions with the ministry. So there's more steps to come. We're having further discussions with them, but I just thought we would throw that out as another option, as a short-term option. So.
Thank you, Wes. And I think that would be a part of the next meeting. I guess we can, without making any motions today as far as getting some of those things moving, if we could do it sooner than later, get a meeting together. With sewer technologies, that's a separate part of it, and we do need to move on with the other part of it. We've been planning that for a couple of years now as far as the cell expansion and trying to figure out how we can do that as far as funds. But all these other things we've been working on for, it seems like forever, trying to deal with the infiltration. So I do have a mover and a seconder to invite sewer technology and Aqua back to another meeting so we can find out how successful the work that we've done already is.
The next meeting? Our next meeting?
Yeah, okay. So that was moved by Councillor Webb that we invite you back to the next meeting. Or like Barry said, we'll work on the next meeting. And I had a seconder there, Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor of that motion? Okay, well, that's good. Barry, you had something to add?
Yeah, I have one more question. How many wells are included in our synopsis here? Like we're okay with wells, but does that include the one in the Rotary Park, Amber?
It's just well 3 and well 1 and 4. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, just one and 4? Or
And
is there,
well 3.
and 3 is in there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we don't want to turn it on because we have brown water.
Well,
right, but it's, yep, sorry.
Yep, so therefore, we're kind of looking at eliminating that out of our figures here for the time being until we get that solution.
Yeah,
It's potable water, but it's
Yeah,
not,
it meets all the requirements for Reg 170. It's just not pretty to look at. So I understand that. And Brad, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I understand where you're coming from, because with the upgrades, basically well 1 and 4 is going to be running 24 hours a day if you don't run well 3. So if you have a leak or anything, you're going to have to turn well 3 on.
okay. My other thought is then we have to look at the ozone treatment to get the discoloration out of that well too.
Yeah, I think personally, I think, you know, one at a time, just right at the moment, just that the wastewater is maybe the focus right now, and then we can work on the water. But if we get really good funding, I say go for it all.
Well, that would be nice. I'd go for that. But we're only fooling ourselves by saying we can run, you know, well 3 a lot.
So for today, though, let's focus on the wastewater.
Carry on. I just wanted to know if that well was figured into the process, and it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had some. Yeah, so let's just focus on the wastewater for today. Let's get that moving and keep it moving. And we have a lot of things on the go already with regards to the pipe in the ground that has to be expanded in size, and the sewer technology. So let's get that off the table and get things moving there. And we can, water's endless. There's lots of discussion on water and sewer. We can talk about it forever, and there's going to be upgrades every year on these projects. So I think for today, if we could get that other meeting going, let's see where we're at, and get moving. So did I call the question there, Bob? I know I have a mover and a seconder. And we did the all in favor? Okay, all right, sorry about that.
Yes, the question's been called. Thank you, Mayor Martin.
All right, okay, well, if there's no other questions, we can move on here, and I'll take a motion to receive this delegation. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Councillor Ellis, and all in favor. And that's carried. Thank you everyone for all the work that you put into this, and let's keep it going. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next delegation, Terry Reese, with regards to a dock replacement on Peninsula. Welcome, Terry. There he is. Moving around on my screen here, Terry. I lost you. Okay. You wanted to.
Good morning. Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Terry.
How are you this morning, gentlemen, ladies?
Good.
Good. Good. Thanks for the time this morning. Hope everyone's well. So to you, I'm just following up on this, a letter and an idea that we've talked about a few times, which is about the public boat launch, which is at 431 Peninsula Road. So I sent you all a letter, which you'd recall, that was just about my concerns as a resident about the state of the dock and how it reflects on the township, and how it might, how as an important community asset, it's important that we pay attention and have a bit of a plan for not letting it fall into disrepair any further. So I thought it was useful to make sure we, you know, as community members and as you guys as community members, we all had a common understanding about whether this thing was really important to the township or not, because we advertise it on the website as one of the 7 boat launches, and it's certainly the lakes in the area are our assets, and the access to them being a critical part of being able to use them. So I did end up speaking to Ryan Andrew a while ago about it, and he's obviously, that's part of his portfolio, and I guess he takes direction from council, and so hopefully this conversation will help inform the conversation a little bit. So you know, public boat launches aren't, boat launches and docks aren't a new thing. There's lots of them all over the place. Selwyn's got them, Duro's got them. There's City of Peterborough and others have got marinas and docks. Brighton's got a bunch. There's 34 public boat launches in the township of Muskoka Lakes alone. That's docks. That's just not launches. Sorry. So these things are around, and obviously people install them and maintain them and have a budget for them for a whole bunch of reasons, and it's because it supports the residents and also supports the local economy. I did some quick math. There's about 50 people on Long Island, which is where my folks' place is. I figured about 22 of them use that launch and boat dock as their primary access to their property. I'd say another 30 on the island use it as guest parking or for contractors or for one time or another during the year. And then there's about 80 properties on McDonald Bay, which is right there, and the other people that are on Peninsula Road, another 25 or so, most of whom use that boat launch to get their boats in and out either seasonally or occasionally. So it's a pretty busy spot, and it's been really busy this year because everyone's got out of the city, I think, because it's always packed in there. And it's in great shape, by the way. I think the maintenance on the property is really well done, both the beach, which is really busy, and the boat launch and parking. I also figure since I'm there fairly often, I see at least a couple boats a day this is people coming from off the lake and from either within the township or from away. So I figure, over the 4 busy summer months, there's a couple hundred boats that come in and out of there. And that's people that are visitors and people that I think the township wants to continue to encourage to come, spend some money and enjoy the township. So anyway, as I said in my letter, I think it's an opportunity to show a nice side of our township, and on the other side, it can be a real eyesore. And it's an unfortunate state of repair it's in. I mean, it's got a bunch of band-aids on it now that have been done by myself and other residents just to keep it from falling into complete disrepair. But I think with a modest budget investment, like a lot of other townships, that this is a reasonable thing for council to consider, including in a future budget, and to having as part of their maintenance program, just with the parking and the beach there, which you've done for a number of years now. Yeah, so I really just wanted to say my piece and just get any feedback that you had, or see if there's any way that the residents could help, because I know when I've talked to my neighbors that use that launch, they're all fed up and they're all quite put out, frankly, and are prepared to reach into their own pockets if that's what it takes. But I think it's a community asset that first and foremost, it should be something that local council thinks about and has a bit of a plan to make something happen, so that in the future this thing just doesn't fall into complete disrepair.
Thanks, Terry. And yeah, there's 2 pieces to this here, and that's boat launch and docks. And the one issue that's been at that boat launch is none of our other launches have docks. And it's something that I know Deputy Mayor Giroux has spent some time on here to look around the lakes to see about whether we should get into the dock business. And there wasn't a whole lot of support that we found, but it's a real mixed bag out there. Like, some cottagers want to keep the lakes closed and don't want to entertain guests or people coming. Yours does have a dock, and like we've said for years, it's an M&R dock, and it is falling apart. I remember it from years ago that it used to be a lot nicer than it is now, and I was in there actually yesterday and taking a look at it, and it is. Has the group approached, like, we were trying to get a meeting with M&R, and this is one of the things that was on for discussion, is if they're going to help us. But you did have some good points in your letter, as far as we do the library property or the beach property was M&R property too, and we do maintain it. And could we maintain the dock there? The dock's been there for 100 years. It's and there is a lot of people use it. I know the one on Mile of Memories, the boat launch there, there's a lot of people, islanders, that use that launch, but there's no dock there. So we talked about it last budget. It made it into the draft report, and then it got dropped out of there when we got to the final budget to look at getting into the dock business. I'm going to open it up to council. You're right. There is a dock there and it needs taken care of, and we can work through M&R to try and get a new dock put in there, or we can take it on ourselves through M&R and make sure that they're going to pay for it. There's different options here, but I'm going to see what council has to say here, and we'll go from there, okay? So Deputy Mayor Giroux, I'll start with you, and then Councillor Ellis.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. First of all, Terry, thank you for the letter that you did send, and I appreciate that. I'm sure all council does. There's no secret this has been an ongoing problem for a lot of years. And we've always said this to ministries and so on and so on. I think it's time to get over that little hurdle if the ministry is not going to do anything about it or help us, I think we better move forward, because I believe that we owe it to the lakes. Getting a dock on a lake is like pushing a rope uphill as far as I'm concerned. I understand that the lake associations and the property owners on the lakes who live permanently or are seasonal that like to have their lakes to their own. But as long as there's a boat ramp, they're not going to be private lakes as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, Mayor Martin stated that did get preliminary budget last year, and I'm going to bring it forward again this year, because I've talked to our treasurer, and she indicated that the insurance companies didn't like docks because it adds more insurance, more risk. I find that very hard to believe. You go and put a boat in any one of our boat ramps without a dock, it's pretty near impossible. You can't do it when you're alone. So I'm all for docks, and I'm all for every lake. Thank you.
If I may, and I just if I could, so we talked about it as the lake associations in the area. Nobody else is really chomping at the bit to do this anywhere else, by the way. Like I think as the mayor said, there's not a big hue and cry for installing docks and really anywhere else, frankly. I was kind of looking for some support from my other neighbors, and that just wasn't happening. But in the case of this one, I think, and to your point, Deputy Mayor, it's there, and some form of dock's going to be there, and I think it's a reasonable investment that's done by other municipalities, and if you can put that into the budget, I'll certainly make sure you hear from lots of residents that will be supportive of it. Others may not, and that's entirely up to them to say so. But yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ellis.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, good morning, Terry. Thanks for coming and your letter prior. I just have one question. Have you had communication with M&R regarding replacing the dock?
I've had as successful of conversations with M&R as you have, I think. Can I say that?
Anyway, and also thanks for your honesty regarding all the other lakes. Docks are not such a hot item when you talk to certain people. So thanks for your honesty there. And yes, we need to make a decision whether we're going to team up with M&R or the association regarding the one at their Kosh Lake. So thanks for your I
think I caught most of that. I hope that's not my computer buffering, but it's usually me. Was there, okay, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, Terry, I realize your frustration, but it is on Crown land. And I know the amount of people that are on those two islands, and you know, we don't own the dock, and it's a means of transportation for you people to get back and forth to the islands. It's got to come out in numbers, you know, to the MNR, because I don't feel it is a council's responsibility to build a dock. You know, you said, what if anything the local residents can do? Well, this is a taxpayer thing, you know, that everyone else is going to have to pay. And, you know, maybe the next thing you're after is going to build a bridge over to the island. I don't know. But when years ago, when there was, no, when it started out, is had a dock, it was maintained, and it went to your island. Now, granted, there's been more cottages built, and they've increased in value substantially. Some of them are quite extensive, but we don't control the tax base, you know, for that purpose. And I think that going after something that is only had a dock. Well, maybe if everyone on the island got together and threw in a few bucks, you could have a dock. But then again, how do you look after it so the other people can't use it? That's the other thing. It's one of those things that's back and forth. How do you police it? I really don't know. Like our treasurer said that, you know, insurance wise, can we insure something that we don't own? I have no idea, but anyway, there's other things there to look at. I can see your concern, but we're not going through the proper channels, either that or we're not getting the answer from the proper channels. And if we have to resolve to something else after we go through the proper channels, I think you'll have council's support, but the way it stands, I just can't see us making a decision to go and build a dock for Kosh Lake.
Okay. Is there any other council wishing to comment on this? Go ahead, Hart.
I share Councillor Pomeroy's concern about turning HBM into a dock repair service. But at the same time, I don't think that's what Terry's asking for here. I think, you know, what he said is like us, and we've been through this. He's history with very few results, and I can't see why us as a council, let's say, he's a ratepayer here. He's coming to us to try and facilitate something for us. I can't see why we can't reach out to the ministry. Like, we're talking with them on 2 or 3 issues right now between Fish Hatchery Road and a few other issues like that. I can't see why this couldn't be brought up. And yeah, maybe we're not the ones that fix it, but maybe there's an agreement whereby, the ministry grants Terry and his group or whatever the ability or something like that. Like, that's what we're here for, is to try and find answers to, these problems. And it always doesn't have to be we pay for it or somebody else, Let's look for maybe a new solution here. So I would be for directing staff or whoever to get in contact with the ministry and, I hate to say it, but adding this to the plate of items that are already on that list. So, and see what we could do, if we could do something that way.
That was my thoughts exactly, Hart. We put it on to the ministry for to start with, to see where we go from there. And I would like the Cottage Association for support.
So that's where I think that's where we're at right. I think that's where we're at right now. We're trying to get together with the ministry. I know Bob's been trying to get together, and I did get an email last week from Jennifer up there at M&R, and I think totally hear what you're saying here, Terry, and we'll take this letter with us when we do get together with them and see what we can do here. I think, like Hart said, we're going to work with you here totally. We don't have docks at the other launches. This one here has been there forever, and it is M&R, and that's what we've been standing behind, and we'll try and help you to get it upgraded so it is presentable, because it is an embarrassment. The province shouldn't even like to have a dock like that, and I did take some pictures of it, and pictures are worth 1,000 words. So we'll take that with us too. I'll send them over to the office, and we can use them too, but something needs to be done with it. Over the last 15 or so years, or probably even more than that, it's been getting smaller and smaller. We need to deal with it and need to help you with this. So this letter could go forward to the budget too, if you like. I don't know, I'm not hearing that right now, but we can put it through. And you know what? Get all your neighbors on the island to send a letter test. Everybody else is quick at sending letters. Let's send one that there's no new cottages on that island. They might be new, but there's no new numbers. That island has always had the same amount of numbers of cottages. So they've been there for whatever it is since the 50s. And let's deal with this, and we'll work with you here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, you've got a staff that I think knows insurance and can give you advice about that. So if I mean, this being scared of insurance is fair, but it being informed about what the dollars are makes you, gives you an informed decision. I think Ryan's worked with municipal docks in the past, and as far as I could tell, he didn't think it was particularly a challenging kind of an asset to manage or to have as a municipality. So you've got staff that obviously can give you some good advice about that. You know, I'm happy to come with you or talk to Jen. It's Jen Card. Is that who you're talking to?
Yeah.
Yeah. So or whoever. I'm happy to help facilitate that if that's useful, or go with a delegation of my neighbors or whatever. And I just, you know, I suspect that after all of your, you know, chasing around after M&R, they may say, you're right, we're going to get rid of that because we don't want to have that there. So I don't think the solution, a reasonable solution, and that one that council should find acceptable, is that it will just fall into further and further disrepair until it's just a completely either a real hazard or it's completely gone. So, I mean, I think there ought to be my advice, you're the elected council, there ought to be a plan to figure out what happens. You know, what's that going to look, what do you want there as a community asset in the future? And if there's not a dock and the plan is just to get rid of it, that's a discussion. But if there's going to be a dock there has to be a plan to go for it. And I mean, I didn't do the math here, but it's $1 million of property taxes on that island, and it's a $10,000 dock. I don't know. I don't think it's budget busting. I appreciate the lower tax rates as much as anybody, but I also think, you know, council's got to spend money to maintain some things on behalf of the, you know, this is one less post on the bridge on 46, 10 grand. I mean, that's put it into perspective, right? So, I mean, it's not a $0 thing. It's going to cost, it's not zero. It's going to cost some money for sure, but I don't know. I think it's worth looking at, and I think I'll encourage you again when it comes to budget time to consider that as a township thing. And happy to help if it's useful to talk to M&R too, if that's useful.
We will take you up on that, Terry. And honestly, I've had more complaints this year at that launch with regards to the launching side of it and the parking issue on people parking at the beach, and you can't get your truck in to back your boat in. That's something that's going to have to be dealt with too here in the future, along with other boat launches. But the parking at the beach has been an issue this year, and that I was up there looking at that too, and kind of wonder sometimes if the people that are going to the beach couldn't park at the library instead of blocking the road there. So we'll deal with that along with the dock and see what we can do here, Terry. But it was well said.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I'll say that the improvements that the township did to the parking area made it quite a bit bigger, and the launch isn't in too bad a shape. It's not bad. This has been a really remarkable year. Like, there's way more people in there than I've ever seen there. So it's just everybody. It's been hot, and yeah. But yeah. I appreciate your attention, and we'll talk again about this hopefully soon.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, guys.
I'll look for a motion to receive this delegation, and we can forward his letter over to the budget committee, I guess, and put it in a file for M&R. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by your seconder there, Councillor Pomeroy.
With a question.
With a question.
Won't put it in a file. Put it in an active file.
Well, yeah, it is always active. So, okay, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Terry.
All right, great.
I'm going to ask council here if we could take like a 5-minute break before we move into the next portion of our meeting. So moved by Councillor Webb that we take a 5-minute recess. Seconded by, he's gone already, Councillor Ellis. All in favor? Okay, come on back in 5 minutes. It's 11:17 now, so whatever that is, 23. Come on back. And we'll move into staff reports. Ryan Andrew, Supervisor Infrastructure, Ballpark, Booth, Canteen. Hello, Ryan.
He's probably still in the bathroom.
You there, Ryan? Huh. Okay. You heard from Ryan, Bianca? If not, we can move over to Laura and then come back to Ryan.
I haven't heard from Ryan, no.
All right. Laura, if you could do your report, we'll move into that and then hopefully Ryan's back.
Absolutely. Okay. So this report is to close up and to stop, up, close, and convey a municipal road allowance for Miller Timber Sands. This is up in the Methuen ward on Jack Lake. The recommendation is that council agree to the request from Miller Timber Sands to stop, up, close, and convey the portion of unopened road allowance bisecting properties having roll numbers 1531-010-007, 66701, and 1531-010-007, 66600, as well as the unopened road allowance that bisects roll number 1531-010-007, 69700, known as civic address 2 Shady Lane. So with the report, there should have been some maps showing the areas of unopened municipal road allowance that the owners of Miller Timber Sands would like to purchase. The sale of these lands has no impact on the municipality. Miller Timber Sands owns all of the property around them, and the unopened road allowance does not lead to water.
So if it was shared on the screen, this diagram that you have here, I was trying to figure out, like, it looks like it's almost like, is there an intersection of a road allowance there or something? Like, it looks like there's a T there of roads. Is that kind of hard to understand? For me anyways, I don't know what council's thoughts were, but there is water running through it. So just as Jack's Lake.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
There we go.
Hold on, you lost me.
What's that?
Don't move forward, whatever she did, I lost my screen here.
Can you see the picture there, Dave? Like of the...
No, just hold on. Something happened. Oh.
Did that happen on the last presentation too, Dave? Where?
Yeah, it did. Whatever they're doing, they're knocking me out here. I'll have to go back out and come in. Just give me a second.
Just a second, Laura. Technology here. We're just trying to.
No worries.
He must have a different setting on his. So when we go to the shared screen, it must be blocking it out. I just thought you could have took your cursor over the road that were, like, I could see the red arrow on there, and the two properties.
I think Bianca is actually running this show of putting the, I don't know how to do anything like that. I'm not technology savvy.
Okay, well, when Dave comes back in, I can't see him on here. He might be back in. I only have 4 pictures here, so I see Ryan's back.
Okay, she gave me permission to share now.
Okay, with your cursor, as soon as is Dave back yet? Maybe I shouldn't ask for the picture. I messed everything up here. What it was it's showing the water through that road allowance. It says Jack's Lake. I don't know. I think I know the area pretty well, but.
Yeah, and being on site, it looked like a seasonal stream, maybe. But in any regard, Miller Timber Sands owns both sides. Like, they own both properties on either side, so it wouldn't impact any other property owner except for them.
Okay.
So it does satisfy all of the conditions in the official plan.
So it's not a navigable waterway?
I don't think so. I've been down that way dozens of times. Yeah.
Okay. Is Dave back yet? Bianca?
Yes, I've just let him in. He should be here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, all I can see on my screen is Laura, Ryan, Art, and myself. So when it goes to the shared screen, it limits who you can see. So as soon as Dave's able to see this, hopefully he can see it. It looked like he nodded his head like he might have had the same concerns. And that explains it pretty well. I guess that's all we want to make sure with these road allowance closures. We don't want to get in trouble.
What is it? A creek or what is it?
I think it's a seasonal, like a seasonal creek, maybe.
Okay. Just drainage with a few culverts or something?
I'm not even sure if there's culverts. I think it might be wet in the springtime, but not any other time.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Is Dave there?
Yeah, I don't know whether you can hear me or not.
Well, Dave, yeah, we can. And Laura was explaining it's not like a waterway or anything like that. It's like a seasonal creek that you can see there, that water that you're seeing.
I realize that. Thank you very much. I have some questions for Laura on this.
Okay.
On the last property number, known as Civic Address 2 Shady Lane, that's municipal road. So are you bisecting a municipal road with this?
No. So through you, Mr. Mayor, no. If we scroll down to the, I'll see if I can do it here. Hang on.
These maps we get are not that good.
So that one there shows it, yeah.
So you can see, can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Shady Lane here. And the unopened road allowance is here where the red arrow is. So
yes.
It won't have any impact on the use of Shady Lane at all.
So you can guarantee that if we stop up and close this road allowance, it will not interfere with any property owners on the far side of that or impede them from travel to their properties, to which would be the what, south or north? Would be
maybe southeast.
So this unopened municipal road allowance right here, it currently has cabins on it. There's not even a walking path on this section here.
So that would clean that up.
It would just make the property nice and tidy. It's, I mean, really I think there's 2 cabins on this unopened road allowance, maybe 3. There's no driving. The roadway goes along to the north. I know this area pretty well because I take my kids down here all the time in the stroller. So I'm confident that it won't impact any access to the neighbors to the south. There is still a fire route that can be taken, but that doesn't have any impact on the sale of this unopened road allowance.
So it doesn't go across that fire route then? It's just...
No, it would just be the rectangular shape to the southwest, I guess. So just this portion here. Oh, okay. It wouldn't block off or disable access to the rest of the fire route.
Okay. I think that's what Dave was getting at there.
Well, I got a couple more questions here.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I can't see this very good. When I got popped out, I had to bring another computer up. So where the red arrow is, the location of the unopened road allowance, where that red arrow is, right?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Laura?
Yeah. Yep.
So from the top of the Miller Timber Sands, and that road comes down, that roadway comes down, you're intersecting that. You're not going behind the red arrow.
No, that's correct. So I'll show you just up here. So as you can see, there is a portion of unopened municipal road allowance that runs through 2 properties owned by Miller Timber Sands as well. So there's 3 properties in total that Miller's Timber Sands owns. We would have it deeded into the sale that access down this fire route here would still exist. We wouldn't block off any of those cottages from access. So the Miller Timber Sands wants to basically own where my cursor is here and over, and then again down below and down toward the lake, but not leading to water. Does that make sense?
It doesn't lead to water now, because we all know the history back there. So I just want to be guaranteed that if we do this, that we will not impede anybody from going or coming to their properties. I'm not getting into that again. I went through that once. I'm never doing it again. And the person that did that, well, they're not with us anymore. So
okay.
Be very careful.
I will be very careful. I've already noted that there is access given to the cottages here, and it will be deeded onto the purchase. That access still has to be given. We're very aware of it too here, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. There any other questions there? If you could go back to the full screen, I can't see everyone here, Bianca. So sorry for asking that there. They knocked everything out. So anyways, is there any other questions from council or comments? Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, number 2, that the property owner submit a current opinion of value for review and acceptance by the municipality.
Yeah, we used to have a real estate person that we used to use all the time, I thought, but I don't know if I can't remember the name of the company, but we used to use one quite regularly from Peterborough, I think. Rishner or something like that. But anyways, is that how it works, Laura? Is they get their own real estate, or we get a real estate person to give us a value?
So looking through the history of the sales of unopened road allowances, this was one of the previous conditions. But we can definitely change that to the municipality provides an opinion.
No, we didn't pay.
A realtor.
Sorry, we didn't pay for it or anything, but we just had one that was on that we would use to get the number. But however, it's been working in the past. Like I say, I didn't think we paid for it in the past, but we had a real estate company from Peterborough that was familiar with a lot of these areas, and they would give us a true value.
So I think that the way that this is written, we can accept their current opinion of value and review it with a real estate company that we would use, and just kind of work it out that way.
Okay. Okay. Is there any other questions or comments from council? And what's your thoughts?
And maybe we could get our man in Apsley to go over and have a look at it. He's always coming out and surprising us.
Well, maybe that's who it will be. I don't know. Okay, so the recommendation here, there's 6 points to the recommendation. What's council's thought?
Get number 2 straightened out, and that she's okay.
Yeah, so if we go with the way that it's been done, I guess that works, and it'll come back to us on what the value is, and then we'll decide from then, or from there.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion to approve the recommendation through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, moved by Councillor Ellis, seconder. Is there a seconder there? Seconded by Councillor Webb. All in favor? Question, Dave?
Question on the motion?
Yeah.
By passing this motion today, it does not mean that council had held to any other further, like we're not committed to anything in the further as far as transferring zones or anything. That'll come later.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, number 6 has that covered there, so.
Okay.
So have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, Laura, we'll finish with you and then we'll go back to Ryan. Or is there, number 3 there, is that the same? Oh no, that's another one. Okay, go ahead. Jason Hamilton.
Yes, thank you. So you may recall at the last meeting of council, Mr. Hamilton came and spoke for approval in principle for the purchase of this unopened municipal road allowance. It is my recommendation that council does not agree to the request from Jason Hamilton to stop up, close, and convey that portion of the unopened road allowance that runs alongside roll number 1531010-008-08207. However, if that is not council's prerogative, I did put out a list of conditions that would apply should council decide to go ahead with this purchase. The main reason that I am not in support of the sale is that this portion of unopened municipal road allowance does lead to water. As noted in my report, there is a property to the northeast of Mr. Hamilton's property, which he is acting agent. He has not purchased the property yet, so he's just getting support from council before he goes ahead. The surrounding properties are Crown. However, we can only control what we own, and we own the unopened municipal road allowance. So the recommendation is that it is not sold to Mr. Hamilton. It doesn't meet our condition of official plan.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Motion to approve Laura's recommendation.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Seconder, Councillor Pomeroy. With any questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Ryan, we'll come back to you as far as the ballpark booth. Hi, Ryan.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of council. This report, just to refresh your memory, back in March, council approved the tender for Danielle Moffat to operate the canteen at the baseball field for this season. Given the current circumstances with COVID-19, unfortunately, the baseball world lost most of their season. So this report basically is a recommendation to council that they reduce the amount that they originally submitted, and what we had agreed upon was $650. So through conversations with Danielle, we thought it was reasonable that since they lost more than half the season, they would just pay half the agreed amount. So.
Yeah, thank you. What's council's thoughts here? And I think this is another example of a cost to the municipality. It might be small, but it needs to go into the active file as far as what we're dealing with all this shutdown. So,
motion to approve the recommendation, please.
Okay, moved by Councillor Webb that we approve this recommendation. Seconder. Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, we'll move into number 4 now. Wendelin, with regards to the Trillium Grant and Resilient Communities. Hello, Wendelin.
Hello, Mayor Martin, Council. So this is just a follow-up to the delegation from Gerald. It's the township can offer one community organization under the township number to apply for a Trillium grant, and then the township also has one opportunity to apply on Trillium per year. So we're suggesting, we've met with the seniors group a couple of times now, and they've come up with a plan that they want to expand their revenue sources with a bingo, because some of their other things that they did for revenue sources still cannot be performed with COVID. So we've come up with a listing of items required to freshen up the building for capital expenses, to make it more inviting for the public to come out for a bingo. And they would have some capital expenditures for some of the equipment to run the bingo, and also in the canteen area, because they would use the canteen area as a source of revenue for the bingos, for the breaks and whatnot. So we're looking at putting an application in for $90,200 for the seniors. And the application deadline is quite tight, September 2nd. And then also, if you missed that date, then December 5th is your next time that you can put in for an application. So we feel if we can get it in for the 2nd, then we would have a better opportunity to get the money for the seniors.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Like I say, that they put this grant out there for capital, and this fits right in. So it might be something that we could help them out with. Councillor Webb?
Yeah, just a motion that we approve the recommendation.
Okay, moved by Councillor Webb that we approve this recommendation, and seconded by Councillor Ellis. Comment? Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if you look at Wendland's report there, there's a list of items. Again, a lot of those items are outstanding things that the senior will afford, like a defibrillator, for an example. So there's a number of items there that are just outstanding things that should have been done before now. And hopefully this grant is successful and get the seniors on their way with some new revenue, hopefully, and some improvements to the building. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we have a mover and a second. Are any more comments? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
Thank you. So I'll reach out to Gerald this week and work at getting that application in.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next, the Aqua wastewater contract.
Yeah, so we're proposing that we renew with Aqua. The contract ends at the end of this year. So we've talked to them about some different things that they could add to the contract to enhance it, such as having a person on Aqua staff that would be our wastewater person on record, because we currently don't have one now. So they're offering that to make sure that we're all in compliance with the the Water Treatment Act. So we're looking at 10 years instead of the normal 5. Like, we have a long-standing agreement and relationship with Aqua. So that's what we're proposing. So we're opening up for discussion to change it from the normal 5-year term to a 10-year term, to get more stability for budgeting purposes, and that we'd be protected from any future spikes in costings.
Okay, right. They are a great organization and very professional. The 10 years kind of worries me as far as our mandate as a council. We're on a 4-year term. I like the 5-year, that it gives, the next term of council an option, if that's, otherwise we're tying them up. It's just my thoughts. I'll open it up to council. Barry, go ahead, and then Hart, and then
Yeah,
Dave.
I think.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay. No, I think there was another option that I read. There was 7 years.
Yep.
You didn't mention that, Wendland.
No, I'm proposing the 10-year, but there is also an option that they were talking about, a 7-year option with 3-year renewal.
Yeah, I don't like the 10. I don't like the 10-year. That ties you down pretty tight. I know it's a great organization. We've had no problem with them, but who says what's going to happen in 5 or 6 years? So,
yeah.
I'm kind of going on Jim's assumption there too, that, you know, 10 years is a long time.
Yeah. So there was Hart and then there was Dave that I have here. So go ahead, Hart.
Just in terms of between the 5-year and the 10-year, what's the difference in cost savings? I didn't see any numbers in the.
I'll let Amy respond to that.
Thank you. So at this time, we haven't really priced out the 5-year. What we were doing was looking at the long term and giving you a fixed annual increase. So traditionally, our agreements have been 5-year at CPI. So you take the risk on CPI going up and down. So what we were proposing was a long-term agreement with a fixed 2% increase, which Wendelin spoke to as it provides you with pricing stability. So you would know for the longer term that you would only be paying 2% increase year over year, and you can plan accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, go ahead. Just push your space bar.
I'll have to push my space bar. It's not working. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mayor Martin. I don't think as a corporation that there's too many corporations go beyond 5 years for a contract. I don't think it's a good idea. I appreciate your work and trying to give us the best deal over 10 years, but 10 years is too long for me. I would go for a 5-year with the option that if both parties agree to continue on after 5 years, that's one thing, but beyond 5 years, I will not agree with it. Thank you.
The one thing that I find just in my time that I've been on council is something like this. It's, well, we heard earlier the report that you gave us. As a new councillor, that would be real overwhelming. So, you know, this a 5-year or 6-year, whatever, to make it even more confusing, to come in at the end of the next term, so the council that's here, whoever it is, would be comfortable enough to talk about this and understand it, I think is the best option for a council. I totally appreciate, like Dave said, the 10-year, that stability thing would be nice, but I don't like to handcuff a new council that might want to, you know, negotiate something, or chances are, like I say, you're a great organization and you've done us well, but the 10-year is just kind of, I'm not comfortable with it myself. So Art, go ahead.
I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, we're elected to make decisions here. And I don't think when we're elected, we're not, if we're elected for a 4-year, we're not going to make decisions for 2 years out of 4 years. We're elected to make decisions for 4 years. I understand the apprehension in getting into a long-term contract, but I mean, if we can sit down and look at it and there's going to be significant savings to our community, I can't see why it would be something that we would at least consider. To me, the price of water isn't going to go down. It's not like we're going to sign a 5-year contract and all of a sudden 6 years from now, Aqua is going to cut its rates in half. If anything, they're going to go up substantially, like everything else. So for us to not at least consider this, I think it's irresponsible monetarily, because there could be significant savings. We've been dealing with these people for a long time. The fact is, in the future, we will probably be dealing with Aqua. Can anyone else tell me, if we don't use Aqua, who else we would be using? So, and I understand not getting into a long-term contract where your options are limited, but you just say we're not going to look at anything over 5 years. I think that's completely irresponsible.
Yep. All right, then. That's what we're here for. So, Councillor Ellis, you had something, and we'll move on for a motion.
I guess my thoughts are around the same as probably everybody's just mentioned. I'd like to know, if we went to a 5-year contract, is that a 2% increase? And I would also like to know what the overall savings is if we do go further than 5 years. So maybe we can get some information back before we decide, get some numbers. Also, just a comment, Aqua, as you say, is always, done good work for us. I don't know of other companies. I don't think we've ever done any kind of comparison to another company for cost. It's a heavy amount for a municipality to pay. No disrespect for Aqua, but when we're comparing contracts where that much money is involved, sometime a comparison is good. So I give that to council for thought as well. But I'm leaning towards a 2-year or a 5-year contract, and if that would be a 2% increase on a 5-year. Thank you.
So Amy, I think what I'm hearing here is just to give us something to compare it to, we need to know what the 5-year would be before we could make a decision. It might be 10 still, but we just need a comparator, I think is what I'm hearing. Barry has something there?
Yeah, it says a review of the last 10 years, CPI increase average is only 2.01, so I can't see it being a big deal, for a 5-year plan. But anyway, I guess we'd have to leave that with Amy and see if they can come back with, basically the 5-year plan, I think, which would be beneficial to us and our next council that would be set up. And if at that time the next council wants to terminate the agreement, that's entirely up to them, but I can't imagine they would. We've had good service, we've worked with good people, and like I say, they've done us well. So anyway, Amy, if you can come back, or maybe you can already make that decision, a 5-year agreement at 2%.
Yes, I can offer you the 5-year agreement at 2%, a fixed 2% increase. I have been given permission to do that. So if council would like to approve that today, we can move forward with that. We're comfortable with that.
Okay.
So just for clarification, Amy, would the first year still be at the 2.4% and then 2% for the remaining 4 years, or is it 2% each year?
No, so the initial year would be the 2.4% increase due to the increases that we outlined. There was increases in the insurance market and in the chemical market. So we do have to go to that 2.4% increase in year 1. Every year thereafter would be fixed at 2%.
Okay, I just wanted it to be clarified. Yeah.
Okay, what's council's thoughts there? That's, I think, what we were asking for. Go ahead, Barry.
Go for the 5-year, 2%.
All right, moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we go with the 5-year contract. Seconder, Councillor Giroux. Any more questions or comments? Thank you, Amy. All in favor?
Thank you, Amy.
That's carried. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Everything you're doing. So, all right. Boy, water is a big thing today, and sewer. So, Wendell, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so as you see my report, council approved the water increase at $1.36 per month back on March 16th. And it was basically when COVID hit. So we've just left that in abeyance until COVID was starting to open up and such. So now with stage 2 opening up, I'm just reaching out to council to see what your thought process is on putting that increase on September the 1st. I'm just going to open it up for comments.
Okay. I'm used to seeing the water and sewer together on this, and March was a long time ago. So
yeah,
this is
the sewer didn't increase at all with the bylaw, so I didn't talk about the sewer It was just the water had increased.
Okay, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, I thought it was only $1 increase on the water, not $1.36. And secondly, through all my correspondence from AMO and the rest of them, a lot of municipalities are forgiving tough times that we're going through with this COVID-19. And it's not a big deal, but it's something because there's so many people have succumbed to losing jobs, you know, and not having the resources for increases. I realize it isn't that big an increase, but there is municipalities that are rolling back the increases for water and sewers. So I will leave it at that.
Okay.
I'll just make a comment for council's information as well. We will be getting some COVID funding from the province come September due to lost revenues and increased expenses of the township because of COVID. So it's my intent for the number of months since the bylaw was put in place to cover those losses off in the grant that they're going to give us. So it's up to council if they want to extend that or not. So that is also part of the equation for consideration.
Okay, I have Dave next, and I just had a question though, well, before Dave goes there, as far as you put down something about the overall increase would be $832 monthly?
Yes.
That's what, okay.
That would be the increase in revenue.
All right.
Per month.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. Oh, probably. No, I'm on. I certainly agree with what Councillor Pomeroy said here. Unfortunately, for everyone, it is a user-pay system. We're not overabundance in our reserves, so there's a lot to consider, and it is a hard decision. There's no doubt about that. There's people suffering, but they're either going to pay now or pay later. I don't know which way to go. I'm sitting on the fence. But, you know, it's hard for everyone, but we got to pay our bills. So, just my comment.
Okay, Councillor Ellis?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the way I look at it, if we didn't have COVID funding coming on stream to cover some of these situations, then I would be looking at, well, you know, as was stated, you pay now or pay later. But when we do have that COVID funding available, then I think we should be using it and taking advantage of it and use it as we see fit. And in this case, could be to cover the cost of loss of revenue for water until such further time.
Yeah. Okay, and yeah, like that's true, Wendelin, as far as that funding that came out here. We're already into August here, September by the time you get this rolling. If this came forward in January as far as a fresh year, you know, that we say it's going to start in January, to Deputy Mayor Giroux's point there, like it's going to come now or come later, but we could finish this year out with that funding and then the new year. It's something that's not going to go away. We've seen the cost of the things that we're dealing with, and but there might be a way to get through this year. If I leave it up to council.
Yeah. And the reason, just to additional information, so that's the reason I'm asking at this council meeting, because we're getting the funding in September, but there's also a phase 2 funding to that COVID funding. So if that funding gets used up, we would have to put a business plan in place and request the phase 2 funding. So if I know which direction council wants to go, then I can put those numbers to the phase 1 funding and do that business plan if needed.
Okay. All right, council, what's your thoughts? Go ahead, Councilor Pomeroy.
Yeah, I think that the COVID-19 funding is going to cover So why wouldn't it be beneficial for our municipality to cash in on it?
I think it goes till August. Is that what you're saying then, Wendelin? It'll cover us up till August, and then the business plan comes in for the next to finish.
We get a base amount.
Yeah.
Which is 200 and some $1,000. So it's going to be a combination of all the departments.
Yeah.
So for example, building permits are lower than what the revenue in the budget was. So all those factors have to be considered because it's just one pie. So it's however it's sliced. So if there is more losses than what we are going to get in September, then a business plan has to be put forward for the phase 2 funding, and it's a short turnaround time to get that report in to the province.
Yeah, so like that 265,000 or 63,000 right now is covering us up till August as far as the expenses, because the next part in September, you have to put a business plan together to justify why you need it.
Yeah, so if council wants to forgive that increase until the end of the year, I can put those numbers into the phase 1 funding as whatever those numbers are.
Okay.
Ideal.
Okay. So what's council's thoughts then? Is that there's an opportunity here to use that funding and then start this increase in January as we normally do, or we can do it right now? So Dave, go ahead, and then Councillor Webb, and then Councillor Ellis.
I have one question for Wendelin, and then I will get on back to the water. Wendelin, this 200,000 plus takes into all accounts, like any revenues we've lost in the arena, for instance, and so on. Ready?
Yeah. So the arena, the not charging the penalty on the taxes, all that has to be calculated into the 200 and some thousand that we're getting. So that's why I'm saying if we end up going over that, then I would have to submit a business report or a business plan for the phase 2 for any other for future losses.
So that business report that you fill out, you think that we would get that anyway, but you have to fill it out.
We would get the 200 and some thousand no matter what. But if we don't use, we have to prove what we've used it for, because if we don't use it all, they want us to put it in a reserve for any future in case there's a phase 2 or a second wave, etc. So we still have to prove what losses or additional expenses the municipality has had.
I would make a motion, Mr. Mayor, if it suits you, that we use that portion up until the end of December for that increase in water. And then we'll have to go have another look at it.
Okay, I'll look for a seconder, and then I'll open it back up to Councillor Webb and Councillor Ellis. So Councillor Ellis, you're seconding that? And then, okay, Councillor Webb, go ahead with your comment, and then Larry, go ahead. Go ahead.
So that's for the money to be used till December? I thought that Wendelin said the money had to be used by August, the end of August.
No, we just have to prove what we're using the funds for and what losses the municipality has had or additional expenses we've had in that money.
So you just have to submit the paperwork.
Yeah, it's just that there's an outstanding bylaw that said that the increase had to happen March 16th.
Okay.
So I just want to cover off to make sure what council's thoughts are to continuing that, or does it go on as an increase on September the 1st? Since the second.
Okay, what's the total amount for what would be written off?
265 or 60?
Yeah, so 800 and
that's not even $1,000.
Let's say $835 rounded up for 5 months. Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of the COVID money, how much, like you said, the departments, how much, like not to get off topic here, but how far are we into analyzing that in terms of?
That's my thing, that one of the items I'm going to be working on this week is starting to gather all the numbers, because I'm working on getting the working papers out for budget for all the departments. So I want to see what the up-to-date numbers are to be able to figure out from what last year's numbers were, to have some concrete numbers there to say what we've lost from year to year.
Okay, yeah, because I know it's over 200,000 we said, but I'm already hearing there's going to be a lot of pie. So before we start divvying up the pie, maybe we should figure out what we're going to spend it on. But in terms of the sewer, I agree with it. So yeah, are we going to?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So if we can prove that our losses in revenue and our additional expenses are over that 200 and some $1,000, you can apply for the phase 2 funding in September to ask for more money.
That money isn't for council to spend. That money is for
That's
staff.
for operating expenses and operating losses. It's not for capital.
Yeah. So, okay. Larry, go ahead.
Just one last comment so we can get carried on here. I presume all departments are tracking their losses, Wendland, regardless of how big or small, they're tracking losses due to COVID?
Yeah, we're just compiling all those numbers now.
Thank you.
Okay, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, and if we spend it all, we can apply for the second portion of the grant. And if you don't,
Right.
it goes in reserves.
Yeah.
Let's just go that way. You made a motion, you seconded it. So,
Yeah. So, all in favor of the motion? Okay, that's carried. So we'll, you can work the numbers there, Wendland.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right then. The next item on this is George Street, 1 George Street West. Bob?
All right, here we go. Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. This report outlines the details and suggests the conclusion of the purchase of the vacant lot at 1 George Street West, and it recommends the requisite bylaw be passed in the bylaw section of today's meeting.
Okay. So looking for a mover. Councillor Webb, Councillor Ellis, all in favor? That's great, thank you. And next, our favorite topic of landlocked land. Go ahead, Bob.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. I guess to continue along the theme today of landlocked properties, this report recommends the conclusion of the sale of land to Heather McMaster for property previously known as the Holland property. This tender concluded late in 2019. Ms. McMaster was the high bidder, and she has been working with a solicitor to complete all the details of the purchase. So we are now recommending that the purchase be concluded and that the requisite bylaw be passed in the bylaw section of today's meeting.
I think this is the one that Councillor or Deputy Mayor Giroux was referring to that Laura might want to read. Good study. Anyway, so the recommendation is here. Moved by Councillor Webb and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux.
After 10 years.
Yeah. All in favor? Get rid of the helicopter.
That's great.
Okay. Next we have, this year would help us move out of our state of emergency. We are still in a state of emergency as far as Havelock-Belmont-Methuen and a number of other municipalities are, but this is one of the things that needed to be cleaned up so we can get out of that. So Bob, go ahead.
Yep, that is correct. Through you, Mayor Martin, when the state of emergency was enacted by the provincial government. Municipalities were given the option of meeting via video conference through that state of emergency period. The state of emergency has now expired at the provincial level, and the province has amended the Municipal Act to allow local governments to meet via video conference in periods of non-emergency. So this amends our procedure bylaw to allow council to continue to meet via video conference.
Okay. All right then. So what's council's thoughts? Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy CAO Bob Angione. One of our previous conversations regarding the benefits of staying under the state of emergency was financial. Now that that has lifted, that means those possible financial benefits are also gone. Hopefully I'm explaining it properly. I know in the past we talked about our municipality going away from the state of emergency, but there were benefits to staying under that state of emergency, and that had to do with possible grants and financial reasons. So I would just ask Bob to comment on that for me, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Previously, there were two main reasons for maintaining our state of emergency. And as Councillor Ellis has stated, one reason was financial, in order to receive financial relief for COVID-related expenses. However, with the announcement now that our township will receive $264,500 as a COVID grant, with potential for more if we choose to apply before October 31st of this year. That is one reason. That reason is now gone. The other reason to retain the state of emergency was for council meetings and to permit electronic council meetings. However, with the amendment to the Municipal Act, that reason is now also gone.
Thank you, Bob. Just one last comment and then I'll pass on. But in your opinion, our meetings that we've had virtually, have they disadvantaged HBM regarding how we operate or any kind of financial losses because of virtual meetings? Or are we maintaining the status quo and things are as they should be, even by doing virtual meetings? So has there been any disadvantage of having virtual meetings?
Through you, Mayor Martin, other than the occasional technological challenge, I don't believe there are any disadvantages. The business of the community has continued to advance. Obviously, with physical distancing and not being able to meet in person and not being able to have an audience in the chamber, in the gallery, that creates a challenge, of course. But the video conference meetings themselves have worked just fine. They're fitting into our work processes, and the business of the community is advancing.
So if we were to change how we're presently attending council meetings as in virtual, would it add a workload, or the changes add to the staff if we were to divert from what we are doing presently? As in, if we went to the Lions Center and tried to hold open meetings?
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, and we're straying into my next report here. However, there would be some additional setup time and we would ensure that the technologies, if we continue to videotape the meetings for posting to our website and to YouTube, we would have to ensure that the technology is working correctly. But otherwise, I would suggest that there's not an extraordinary burden to moving to an in-person meeting at a larger location.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, just a question. Sorry, Bob, my staples fallen out, so I don't know if are the bylaws attached to the back of the paper copy? Because I couldn't find them.
No, they're not. Through you, Mayor Martin, the bylaws are at the end of the package.
At the end of the package? Because I couldn't, sorry.
Yeah, they're in the bylaws section of the agenda package.
Anyways, I'm just, because I don't have it with me right now, but I'm kind of, I alluded to this when the letter came from I believe, MP Monsef's office at the last meeting, in terms of what we're actually okaying here. I understand it's video conferencing, but in that letter, it referenced something about proxy voting for members of council. Could you reference that, or what that has to do with?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, the letter did speak to proxy voting. We did not include that in our update of the procedure bylaw.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else with a comment? So the recommendation, let me get back here. I moved ahead too far here. We got into the next one. So the recommendation here is to amend the bylaw to govern proceedings of the council to adopt the bylaw of this council meeting. So what's council's thoughts? You want to go with the recommendation? Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Seconder. Councillor Webb, all in favor? And that's carried. So, okay, so we'll move into, go ahead, Bob.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, just to clarify, the amendment has now been passed, and passing the amendment simply allows the option of video conferencing. It doesn't obligate council to go down that road. It just creates the option. So for future, you can choose either or.
Yeah. And that's what brings us into the next report here, and there's some good numbers there. And I don't know about the rest of council. I heard lots of people that do watch our meetings, and it gives them an opportunity to see what's going on from home. And the numbers show well there. You know, they're always over 50. The lowest was 50, but for the most part, I've never seen that many other than on a planning night in our council chambers. So it's nice to see people taking the opportunity to see what's going on in the community. So there is a recommendation here whether we continue with the video. You want to go on with this, Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So this report requests council direction. There are three options for proceeding with council meetings. One option is to carry on with video conferencing meetings. Another option is to move to a location that allows for in-person meetings and will allow for an audience in the gallery. And staff has consulted with the Lions Club, and the Lions Hall is available for those meetings. And a third option would be a hybrid, whereby video conference meetings continue. However, an in-person meeting could be held if felt necessary by council. For example, this morning there was discussion with having an in-person meeting with members of Aqua. That would be the location. If we all wanted to be in the same room, we would move to the Lions Hall for that type of meeting.
So personally, that would be my thoughts, is it would be nice to get back to the in-person, but I do like the video too. So I think your hybrid model there is the one that I was leaning towards. And I would think that if there was a way of doing it, maybe starting in October to give the Lions a chance to schedule us in. We could try a in-person video meeting at the Lions Hall and see if we can make it work. And as long as the numbers keep going the way they're going, it's possible. But I've heard from council that some miss the in-person meetings. At the county, I haven't seen the numbers yet. I don't know if you have, Dave, but they did. I don't know what they're going to do there, whether they're going to go back to in-person meetings or whether it's going to continue video. But I never did see the results of the survey they did. But a lot of people are liking this type of meeting and finding them more efficient. But there's a lot still missing the in-person meetings too. So your option 3, I think your hybrid model is the one that I think that I'm going to leave it up to council and see what they prefer. And or we can continue the way we're doing it right now until things calm down. There is a cost to sending staff over, setting the hall up and doing all that stuff. And then trying to make sure that we go by the proper procedures. I would imagine you would have to go in one door and out the other door, and all those things would have to be worked out because you can't pass in the hall. So anyways, it's up to council. What's your thoughts? Go ahead, Dave.
To answer your one question, I did read the results of the counties. Without getting into the stats of it all, county is going to remain status quo for the time being. I do like Bob, thank you for your report. I do like your hybrid. I think it's important by times, such as Councillor Pomeroy suggested this morning, we need to be in the same room. So, but as a precautionary, I do like the video, this morning's meetings and the way we've been doing our Zoom meetings, but there are times. So I like the hybrid. Thank you.
Okay. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I like the personal contact myself. And further to that, we've had how many meetings now since March? They've all been basically daytime and in the morning, they start. And there would be no reason why we couldn't have it in the Lions Hall, you know, in the daytime, in the morning. And, you know, you're not interfering with anything that they're doing up there in the mornings. So I think the opportunity is there. This is great if you got nothing else, but it's still not personal contact. I don't know. And sometimes we get, if we can all talk, sometimes with one another, talk, you know, and it irons out some things. And and if someone's there to answer the question, it works out better as far as I'm concerned. It's the personal thing. And I don't see anything wrong with having our meetings daytime. I don't know why we even have them at night, because it's no one comes out to them. If you looked at the stats on a night meeting, the only people that come out is if there's a zoning change or, you know, whatever, and then you have them there. But other than that, they'll come in the daytime if they want to come, or they'll send an agent. So anyway,
when you work for a living, it does make it hard in the daytime. It's okay if you're a retiree, but moving forward, that's fine. We can do the daytime ones. They would work easier. It'd be hard for Hart, so it'd be up to him to have a say on that side of it. And the hybrid thing works, Bob, because I do like to see the numbers that we're seeing, because like Barry said, nobody comes to the meetings when they are in the daytime or nighttime. It's there's not a lot of people, but it is nice that people are getting involved in our meetings and seeing what they have representing them. And I would like to see that continue. But the in-person part of it, with the video running, I think I could accept that personally. But go ahead, Hart.
Well, I agree. I agree that, you know, with precautions, we should be getting back together here and meeting face to face. I think as much as these are nice, it's hard to hash out some of the harder issues. I think that's why we're starting to do closed in person, is because yeah, these computer meetings are nice, but in terms of dealing with some issues, you got to get down to the nitty gritty. And meeting in person, I think, is a lot better for us at this time. But the one thing I'm troubled by is, so if we went to public meetings at the Lions Club, would the same bylaw, I mean, would we be opening up the town office then to the public? Because at the moment, our office is not open to the public.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, just to.
I'm just wondering if council is opening up meetings to the public. Nope.
Through you, Mayor Martin, in response to that, the municipal office is open to the public. We are not open for walk-in traffic. We are open by appointment for all services. And we have been open since the beginning of the pandemic. We have continued to carry on with services. We have served the public. So yes, we are open for business.
Hey, sorry for saying you weren't open. I guess I missed up, but at the same time, it's not open if somebody wants to come there, you know, to do something. I understand it's by appointment, but that to me is not open. So by the same, I guess, logic, would you need an invite? Like, would you have to call in to come to a council meeting, or could you just walk into the council meeting?
Through you, Mayor Martin, the council meeting in person would be subject to all the health protocols that are in place. So physical distancing, the chairs would be spaced apart. We would be limited to 50 as a gathering at the most. So if we get more than 50, we would have to deal with that. So I would suggest that we would certainly discuss a protocol for handling an audience. We very rarely get more than 50. I don't expect that would be an issue, but we would certainly have to be prepared for any eventuality.
And that's where the video would come into it, because if you get more than 50 and you have to say to someone, you can't come in, well, we have to keep it as an open meeting, and they have to be able to access the meeting in some way. And like you say, we don't get more than 50 usually, but we would have to cover all the bases to make sure that if we have to turn someone away, they get to still see this meeting. So, Larry, you go ahead.
Yeah, well, without going on this, I think we need to appreciate staff, what they have done to this point. Bob has given us an option here. I personally think my personal thoughts are we would not change anything that we're doing at present time, but he has given us an option, the hybrid model. So we're continuing, and if needed, to have a group session, and the hybrid model handles that. So I just think we need to stop and think of all the things that's been put in place and how well things have worked as is. But again, the hybrid model covers both scenarios. And just one last comment on the video virtual meetings. It's nice to see the amount of people that are linking in to listen to what's going on. And it doesn't prevent anybody from coming to council virtually. So my thoughts, I'm leaning towards or in support of the hybrid model, continue on with our virtual meetings as we are.
So Bob, if we were to look at the virtual meeting, what would you say to on the first meeting, the next meeting, bringing back a thoughts on how you could do the in-person meeting, give you a chance to get a plan in place, how you're going to deal with it, how you deal with numbers. The other municipalities, the hardest challenge that they're having is with planning meetings, because like Barry said, the numbers at those are the ones that people come out to. And if you got to turn someone away, what they're doing is making them line up outside and they come in for each application. It's a challenge, but you can't just open the hall up and have more than 50 people. So some are doing that. They have somebody at the door letting in for each planning application. It gets a little bit cumbersome to try and make it work, but we can. But I just wonder if we were to look at that hybrid model and then give you an opportunity to come back in the first September meeting to with a plan on how you could deal with the in-person thing and how you can make it work. Would that work for council? Just a thought. What's council's thought? It's not a simple thing, that's all. It sounds easy, but staff has done great so far. Hardly any scares, maybe one last week, but we worked through that with the office itself. And, you know, so we have done well. So let's just see what we can do to get it moving. I'm here in council, so let's give staff an opportunity to bring something back on. Let's get through these 2 items here, or this item here, and then let's move on. Barry?
Yeah, you're saying let staff get back to us. Staff has already got to us with option 1, 2, 3. Actually, I like probably option 2 better than anything. Conduct all council meetings at the Lions Hall. And you threw in a scenario there where if it's a meeting where they're looking at a zoning change or whatever, and you have to say, okay, we have to limit it to 50 people. Well, it should be like there is an alternative way of doing that. You handle that first one with, you know, people that are connected with that. And it's also going to be videotaped. We're not excluding everyone from seeing what's going on, because we've got the equipment now to do all that. But personally, I just like the personal thing. I know it's nice to sit in your rear at your own home, but it's just not the same.
Okay, so Bob, is that number 2 or was that number 3? The video and the in-person are the number 3 one, right?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Option 2 is to move all meetings to the Lions Hall. And option 3 is the hybrid model.
So option 2 is without video, am I right?
No, through you, Mayor Martin, the correction. All meetings, council has voted at a previous council meeting to have all meetings videotaped. So whichever option you choose, all meetings will be recorded, posted to the website, and posted to YouTube.
Okay, so Barry, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd make a motion that we go with option 2.
Okay, moved by Councillor Pomeroy that we go with option 2. Do I have a seconder?
Well, no, is that I'm not second.
Sorry,
I understand. I agree with Ken Pomeroy in terms of we need to get back in person here, but I don't think the Lions Hall to me is a solution. I think we had an all candidates meeting over there for the last election in which they used microphones, and even that was still hard to hear. So I'm envisioning us having a meeting over there with everybody spaced out. Nobody's going to be able to hear anything. Like, it's just, you know, and I'm not saying I do want to get back in person, but in terms of doing something for the public and having a functional meeting that doesn't turn into a circus, you know, I don't know if that was the best thing. I guess we could always try it, right? On a trial basis. You know, I guess I would be up for that. But I'm just saying that's a big room. And unless, you know, you're going to have microphones and speakers and the rest of it, and I don't know how the people are going to hear it if they're spaced out. They have enough trouble hearing in their own little council chamber sometimes, right? So what are you going to do if you're sitting on the other side of the Lions Hall? Like,
So Bob, your option 3, the hybrid one, would allow us to do the next, like we can try it at the Lions Hall, like, and it'll look after Councillor Webb's concerns there to see how it's going to work. Would option 3 cover us there so we could try the next meeting at the Lions Hall, see how it works, how the sound works, how everything else works, and how we get people through there? And if it didn't work, we can go back to it's hybrid then, right?
Through you, Mayor Martin, that is correct. The hybrid model would allow you to move back and forth, if you like, between in-person and video conference. It is possible, and I agree further to Councillor Webb's comments. We're going to have to experiment with it at least once and see how it works. We don't know exactly what the sound will be like. We could have someone sit at the back of the room and see how it goes. It is also possible with our COVID grant, perhaps we may have to invest in a few microphones and perhaps a speaker system. The video equipment is on order, it's coming, and I'm assured that it will handle what we need to do. It's expected to arrive in a couple weeks.
So if we were to leave the planning meetings by Zoom and we were to do the other ones, the hybrid would fit right in there. The one meeting a month we could do at the Lions Hall, and the planning meeting we can do by Zoom. That would cover a little bit of both. Kind of goes halfway here. I don't know what council thinks. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, it's going to take a day to set up and a day to tear down and a day of a council meeting. Yeah. I'm not for it at all.
Okay. All right. So let's make a motion here to get
on the floor.
What's that?
There was a motion on the floor.
We only had nobody seconded it. So let's look for a motion to get through this. Anybody want to do what's that? Go ahead, Hart.
I'll make a motion that we maintain the status quo of Zoom meetings until further developments in terms of the COVID situation.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Okay. All right. So we'll go with that.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. So that would be option one.
Yeah.
So we keep doing what we're doing.
And how does that work though, Bob? I don't want to prolong this. How does this work though for our meeting that we want to have with Aqua? Is that something separate?
Well, I would suggest, Mayor Martin, that if we want to meet with Aqua in person, the hybrid model would have worked just fine. However, we could have a special resolution that we have a special council meeting with Aqua in person at the Lions Hall. We just handle it as a separate resolution.
Okay. All right then. Barry, go ahead.
Yes, and we probably won't need a whole bunch of microphones and speakers because it won't be that big a crowd. Yeah. And most of our meetings, it wouldn't matter. There's not going to be a crowd there anyway, except the ones that we have mentioned before. But if you want to keep going this way, I guess that's up to you, fellas.
Okay. So do you need something, Bob, there for that meeting with Aqua then, like a separate resolution?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. If we're going to meet in person with Aqua, yes, we would.
I think Barry just moved that. And
okay.
Somebody going to second that? Dave seconded it? Okay. All in favor? And that's carried. Let's get on here. We'll be running right into the next meeting. So we have correspondence next. Go ahead, Bob.
Sorry, briefly through you, Mayor Martin, we would ask council for a resolution to extend the curfew.
Okay. Is anybody going to do that? Oh, Councillor Ellis and Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? For the most part. Okay. So correspondence here. I knew this would be a long meeting, but I thought we could have got through it a little quicker. So municipal affairs and housing, the safe restart agreement there. That was some good reading, and the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. Go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, just to highlight the first item of correspondence there, that is the one that outlines the grant money that we've received, the $264,500 COVID relief funds.
Yeah. So, and then the second one was about the EORN project, and I've had lots of emails about that, and I think you were going to forward it to a couple of them there. But that's a good news story that I don't know if it goes on the website or whatever, but there's a lot of people looking for better internet, and I've heard it a few times today with a little bit of buffering going on. So hopefully EORN's successful in moving this forward, because I think COVID brought it out that it's really needed even worse than we thought. So we'll move into liaison reports. We'll receive the correspondence there. Moved by Councillor Ellis and seconded by Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we're going to move into liaison reports. Second here, but okay, we have a couple things here with regards to some meetings that we attended. I don't know if there's anything. Oh, there's some minutes there from the Eastern Trails Alliance. Dave, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, we've been extremely busy down there. We're behind in our minutes. I believe you got 3 sets of minutes. COVID has had the opposite effect on multi-use trails because people are wanting to get out, the manufacturers associations, and we've been all working together. Extremely busy. That's all I can say. We're working with the clubs across Ontario, and more reports will be coming soon. Thank you.
The one thing, and I don't know, we've tried it through police services, but the one thing that's going to really hurt some of the ATV things is the two-wheelers that are out there, lumping them all into one basket, running the roads. Lots of complaints coming in about that. I don't know if you can get something out there, but something needs to start coming out about the four-wheelers and running the roads and not designated trails, whatever. A lot of complaints coming in. So we'll deal with it at police services, but that would be something that would be good if Eastern Trails Alliance could help us with. The two-wheel thing is something that they don't fit right into the bylaw at all, but there seems to be more of them around than there is for them. Just my thoughts, and hopefully we can look after that. So
I'll reach out to the SAVE team. Can you give me the date of your next meeting?
I haven't got it with me here, Bob, the next police service meeting. I don't think it's scheduled yet, is it? Or is it?
No, through you, Mayor Martin, I believe it's the 3rd week of September. That would be an approximate date.
Okay.
All right. Thank you
We'll
all. I'll reach out to the SAVE team and see if I can get something put together.
Okay, so a motion to approve the minutes from the OTA. Move them. Councillor Ellis, Councillor Webb, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, motion to receive the activity report there. Councillor Webb. And seconder, Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so we're going to move into new business. Or there's no oral notice of motion or discussion there. I think I have one in my new business there, Bob, personally with regards to an RFP for garbage. So I guess that would be for the next meeting, if anybody agrees. Okay, so we'll go into new business. So let me try and, so the first on there is Deputy Mayor Giroux.
Thanks, Mayor Martin. I'll try and keep this brief. I lost my other computer, so I don't know which one comes first here, but I'm going to talk about Burnt Dam Bridge. As we all know, the County of Peterborough is doing an assessment on the bridge. They have 4 options: do nothing, replace, rehabilitate, and repurpose and retirement. So I guess what I'm saying is this structure is a vital link to our community for many people and many reasons. The bridge serves a route for Ontario Hydro to service the lines in the township, which services Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, the residents and the businesses. So secondly, the Conservation Authority uses this bridge to assess the dam that controls the water on Round Lake, along with Belmont Lake below it and so on. Many residents in this area use this structure to access their private property on the east side of the bridge, as well as the Crown uses it. So this structure is vital for many reasons. And I think it's incumbent upon our municipality, our council, through our staff to comment on the Peterborough County's open process that they want comments on if we would do that. I know that when push comes to shove, we may have to partner with the county, and there would be more than one partners. There's ATVs, there's snowmobiles. I know it's a vital link to the snowmobile club also. So my personal suggestion, working with many bridges and 1,200 kilometers of multi-use trails, we use good old Ontario hemlock for the decking. And that's the first step I would use on that bridge. Right now, I'm not an engineer. It appears it needs to be redecked, and that would be a first step. So I would just like council to support my motion to have staff comment on the burnt dam bridge in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to Peterborough County, not to let it go away. That's all.
Yeah, that's a good, it wouldn't hurt for us to put our comments in. A lot of people are commenting on it, and I've had some calls on that this week also with regards to saving the bridge. So it would be a good thing for our township to let the county know how vital it is for our community, and at least throw some support behind the user groups that are trying to save this thing, because one way or another it's going to end up on our lap as a taxpayer, whether it's through the county or through the township. So it wouldn't hurt to send a letter to the county expressing how important different dam bridge is to our community. So that's moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux. Councillor Palmer, are you seconding that?
No, I had a question.
Okay.
You said it wouldn't matter whether it's through the county or through the taxpayers here. Well, it does. The county has a much
Didn't say it wasn't through the taxpayers here.
And anyway.
Yeah.
So you know yourself that if Peterborough County can fluff this off to HBM, that they're getting rid of a pile of money. And we have no idea. I have some of my own on what it would cost. You don't just go in and put hemlock on a bridge because it won't pass. The engineers will not pass it in a million years. If you touch that bridge, we're going to be liable.
I didn't say we would do it. I would say Peterborough County.
I think the thing here is just to get a letter going to the county how important it is. As far as the engineering part of it, I talked to Peter Nielsen last week, and it's not just a bunch of decking, it's some metal work and everything. It's about $160,000 that needs done to that thing at least. So I think the thing today is just if it would be a good thing for us to support or get a letter of support that we need this bridge in our community. As far as all the details, we'll worry about that later. It's up to Dave and I to fight that issue. There's 3 of these bridges in the county that are similar, and they're looking at them all. So there was a bunch of options there. Ours is that we need that bridge, and I think that's all we need from the township here is some support for Dave and I. So the Dave's motion was to that fact as far as that we need the bridge. Am I mistaken, Dave?
No, you're not mistaken. We would take back to Peterborough County with council's support that they certainly do not retire the bridge and they maintain the bridge status quo or whatever the upgrades are necessary to maintain it.
Yeah, Ron and I fought it last term, the same thing, that they've got a lot of money through the government to keep that bridge up, and they should continue keeping it up. So Dave moved it, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Or with a comment or question?
Mine was a comment through you, Mr. Mayor, and I just caution, I think what we're stating is the importance of the bridge to our municipality, but then draw the line there. No talk about getting our wallet out.
No, that's right. That's all this is about right now. So Dave moved it. Did you second it then, Larry?
I can second it if I thought it had already been.
No, all in favor of that motion?
I can second it.
You broke up there a bit, Larry, I didn't catch that.
I said I did second the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of the motion then? Carried. Okay, and the next was the County Road 50 parking lot.
I see Ryan and Peter may be online. This parking lot has been on our books for about 3 years. I just kind of was hoping maybe I could get a kind of an update that maybe they could pick away at it. I don't think they have to do it all at once, but if they could pick away at it and remove that dirt pile down there before winter comes, if they have time, it'd be an asset to the municipality. There's always cars parked in there, and there's trucks and trailers and so on. And I know that we could use the southwest or southeast corner of that to be cleaned up. Like I say, it doesn't have to be all done at once. Council approved this probably 2 or 3 years ago. We don't have to spend thousands of dollars down there. Just get some stuff removed out of there and have the grader kind of level it off. See what we can do. I'll ask either Ryan or Peter to comment on perhaps we might get that done before the snow flies.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to add that we realize that this has been on the books and it is something that we will work on getting done. Peter and I had a discussion about it this morning. He just got back from vacation. We're going to put a plan in place here shortly to address that. And I don't know if you want to add anything more to that, Peter.
No, Ryan, no, that's great. Yeah, we will get something happening here this fall, and we'll get these capital projects cleaned up, and then we'll move on down into the parking lot there and get that addressed for sure.
Thank you for that, Peter. Thank you, Ryan. I think I have one more, Bob.
There's only 2 on there, Dave, but.
Well, with your permission, Mr. Mayor, I'll speak to another one unless I'm in the wrong spot, Bob. I was going to speak to, and now I forgot the 911 number on the 6th line. And it's just an update I'd like probably from Peter or Ryan again, and it's to do with Larry. Could you tell me the 911 number across the road from you? Because I forget. You're muted.
You're muted out, Larry.
Thank you, Barry. Yeah, it's 1659 is very close to the location.
Okay, so we have a ditch situation with water backing up on the owner's property. I know there was a plan being put together. I had discussions with the owner in the past week. He's not pushing to go down there today or tomorrow to do it, but he's hoping. But by the time that the heavy traffic is over, the cottage traffic is over, sometime in early October or whatever, we could address that water situation again, put a plan together, maybe talk to both property owners on each side of the road, on the west side and the east side of the road. I wasn't in on the last discussions that were taking place. I do believe that Peter might have been down there, and I also believe Ryan might have been down there. I'm not sure, but I think the property owner just wants some reassurance that there may be something looked at down there before the snow flies. Do you know where I'm talking about, Ryan? Peter?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm familiar with what you're talking about. I did meet out there with the foreman, also Engage Engineering. So at this point, we're just waiting for some options from Engage,
okay,
and provide a budget, of course. So council can expect staff to bring an additional report outlining the work that is recommended to be done, and also we'll include a budget price for that.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Yep, thank you very much. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Hart.
That was for the state. We're talking about the 6th line?
Yes.
Engage.
engage with the engineering on that drainage, right? If you're breaking up there, Hart, it broke up a little bit. Is that what
Yeah, no, oh, sorry. No, I was just asking about, yeah, the Engage study. When was that done? Do we know?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we just recently had Engage out there about just over probably 4 or 5 weeks ago. So
Okay.
we're just waiting for them to provide us with some options on how we can address the flooding issue.
Did that come to council?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was discussed at the council, and the direction was for staff to look into some options.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if Peter, if you want to add anything more to that.
Yes, if I could, please.
Go ahead.
Yes, yes, if I could. I followed up this morning with John Sales through Engage Engineering. He's still doing some research on that particular ditch drainage issue there. He's actually doing some research on what the original intent was for that, where the original intent was for that water to travel. So he's just waiting to get some information back when they redid the road initially. So he said he hopes to have something to us this week as a report from Engage to follow up with council.
All right. Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to add a little bit of clarity, I did over the last while talk to both, well, I guess Peter mainly regarding that, because we do want to get it addressed, as Deputy Mayor Giroux says, before snow flies. The one property owner is preparing to seed and to put fertilizer on his fields, and he's a little reluctant until he has some kind of commitment from the township as what may be done or should be done. And I think there's a few options from my memory of the meeting we had way back. But regardless, they need to put something together and bring it to council and Engage. I'm speaking of now. They need to get it back to council, so council can decide how they're going to spend the money, whether, whatever. Just leave it at that. Thank you.
Art, go ahead.
What was the cost of the engineering study?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can you repeat that, Art?
What was the cost of the engineering study? Do we have that, Ryan?
So we didn't do a study. It was just we just paid for hourly rate for him to review the site and provide some options. So at this point, I believe it's around $200 that we've invested in this so far. So we haven't gone very far into it.
No. I just want to, I know what we're trying to do here. I'm familiar with the property, but we just go through a situation where we end up fixing a drainage problem that cost us about $160,000. So I don't want council going down that road again. So as far as I'm concerned, for a problem that wasn't council's problem to be fixing. So don't want to make the same mistake twice.
Okay, we won't get into that. So, okay, Larry, you want to finalize that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just one last comment. It is a township issue, not a personal property issue. The water all drains to one location due to the construction of the road. So it is a township issue, not a personal property issue.
Okay.
So be clear with that.
All right. So we'll move on. Is that it, Dave?
Yeah, that's it for me. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, and I'm going to be really quick here. The no parking signs, I've actually, since this was put on there, had some discussion with staff and the police. And I think the first option would be to try and see if we can get the property owners over at the quarry to put a bigger fence in and help us keep people out of there. That might eliminate more no parking signs and issues around that. So I think the first option would be if I could get a a resolution that we write the owners of the property and ask them if we could do a better job at blocking the entrance to the quarry so people can't access it by climbing over a rock. I think a 8-foot barbed wire fence is something that's needed there, but that's up to them. We have a real issue with parking there, and the police are monitoring it daily, and they have been over the last, they stepped it up again this week. And it's one of those things, there's two parts here. We don't have any jurisdiction over the property. That's up to the property owner and the police. But our problem is the parking on the road. And if it continues, we might have to put no parking signs. But right now, I would think that if we could write a letter to the property owners and ask them if they could do a better job at blocking the entrance to their property, we might be able to stop people from going in there. I don't know what council's thoughts are, but if we could get a motion to that effect, we could try that approach. So, Deputy Mayor Giroux?
I would make a motion that the staff be directed or make a resolution, whatever it takes, to contact the property owner, ask them to secure their property in a better way than it's secured. Period.
Okay.
I was there yesterday. The OPP were there yesterday. Their cars were leaving there in a ball of dust. When he came, there was still one car there when he walked in, and there was fresh bags of garbage within an hour because I had drove by there an hour previously. So it's out of control. It's not our responsibility. It's a landowner's, and that's my resolution. Thank you.
Okay. So moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux that we ask the owners of the property at the quarry. I haven't got the address number, but we all know where it is. If they could secure the property better. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Webb, with a comment or question or comment? Okay, all in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, and the second one was something that we haven't done in a while, and with the issues we've had around our satellite transfer stations, it might be an opportune time to look at with what's going on with the blue box system and recycling and waste. There's 2 municipalities in the county that still doesn't have garbage pickup, and we entertained it a few years ago to see what the cost is. Some have said it, you might be surprised. It could come into an error rating thing. However, it's dealt with, but it might be timely to go out and get an RFP on, piggybacking with some of the neighboring municipalities to look at garbage pickup township wide. And I just wonder what council's thoughts are on that. Deputy Mayor Giroux?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and members of council, I don't really have a problem with that one way or another. My question is, are we talking about the whole of the municipality or just those parts of the municipality that we could piggyback on other parts? For instance, North 4th or Durham.
And that's what I thought with the way the RFP could be written, that you could get a quote for the whole township, but it might be, they might be able to say how they could help us, say at Jacks Lake or West Kosh with North Kawartha or whatever. They might be able to include that into the RFP on, satellite projects or whatever. That would all be in the wording, but it would be just to go out and see what's out there for garbage pickup for the municipality. So yeah, that would have to be worded in there. Like it might be cheaper just for certain areas, and then it would be area rated or whatever, but just a thought. Councillor Ellis?
Just curious, was that any part of a topic at your Lake Association meetings this summer?
No, it didn't come up too much. No, it's just something that more for the issues we've had around the transfer stations in the past year. So it might help those things there when you get talking to Kevin over there and stuff. So anyways, just a thought, throwing it out there to see what council's thoughts are. We were looking at a bunch of RFPs this year, and this is just one of them we haven't done in a while. So has anybody got any interest in that? Okay. And that's fine. It's, I can't make the motion, so it's just something I'll throw it out there and you can think about it for until the next meeting. Go ahead, Dave.
We have a lot on our plate, Mr. Mayor, but it doesn't cost anything other than staff time to create an RFP. I should say other than staff time, their time is valuable. like I said in the very beginning, I'm not opposed to this. I just would like some idea of what kind of a process that staff would have to go through, and I would ask this question to Bob, our acting CEO.
Okay, Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Submitting or advertising a request for proposals would not be an onerous task. We could certainly put an advertisement together. We could review the details with council and ensure that the wording is to everyone's satisfaction. Simply requesting basically a quotation would not be an onerous task. Beyond that, depending what the results are, obviously there'd be a budget implications if any of it was implemented.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, before we add any workload to our staff, maybe it'd be worthwhile to get a bit of feedback from the lake associations and see if they even have any interest.
Yeah.
And when we did talk about it, there were a few that wanted it. There was as many or more that didn't. So, are you hearing anything I'm saying?
I caught about 3 words of it there, but I think I know what you're saying. So, so I can just leave it at that for now. You know, it's just a thought. We could talk about it more. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, the costs associated with this, because Havelock already has the extra garbage pickup. So are we going to, you're going to eliminate the boundaries of Havelock with this RFP?
That's what, like, you know what, there's time for discussion, because that's what I would think, you know, like it would be, we're one of the only townships that doesn't have garbage pickup, and that's why some of our stuff gets complicated. Even things as far as how busy Kevin is over at the 6th line, because we don't have garbage pickup, everybody has to go to the 6th line. So it was just a thought. We've done it a few years ago, and after talking to North Kawartha and Duro, there was some thoughts that you might be surprised that it's a lot cheaper than you think. But you know, it is a busy time, and maybe it's not the time to do it right now. I just threw it out there to see what all the details. There's a lot. What is it? There's a lot of details around it on how it's worded and what it's going to achieve. But let's leave it at that for now, and just put it in your minds. If there's a thought of it later, we can always bring it back. So, okay. And the only other thing I had was grow ops and around our municipality, and I really would like to. I see Northumberland or Trent Hills is doing a seminar on grow ops and cannabis, and I think we need to be getting into something like that, because it's really hard to answer these people. We have a lot of them in our township, and we don't have the answers. We need to get somebody in to educate us on how this works. There's 2 parts to the process. There's one for crops, which are all legal. If they have a license, it's just like growing corn. They're welcome to do it. And then the other part is the processing. And I see new buildings going up and things happening around farms that's a whole totally separate thing that we don't allow in our zoning, the way it's written today. So I think we need to get educated on this, because it's a big thing. I can think of 8 right now in our municipality. And from stuff that I'm reading around in other municipalities, you just think that they're legal because the federal government allows it and doesn't let us know anything. But some of them aren't legal, and there's some things that are happening that we don't want in our township. So so there was 2 parts here, and the one part is that we get some education on this so we know what we're talking about moving forward. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I agree. And we've had this discussion before about getting educated and looking at our own bylaw. But I'm curious, how do we know, or how does a municipality get informed that a certain property that is growing it is licensed? How do we know?
We don't.
We don't. That's the problem.
That's what needs to be fixed. Like,
yeah.
As a municipality, we should know, right?
That's right. So that's what I'm talking about as far as this thing that they're doing in Trent Hills is something that we need to ask them who they're using, and maybe we get educated too, because it's not going to go away. It's big money, and we just need to understand how it works. And so we have the answers for the people in our township, because I've had several calls over the last couple of weeks because it's getting that time that they're going to be harvesting soon, and just even with regards to smell. So anyways, so I'm just looking for something from council to direct staff to see if they could line up some sort of a seminar or some sort of a thing for council to, and I don't know whether it's the public or not, but or how you work it, Bob, but you can find out from Trent Hills and move forward. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, if I could, I would make that motion, direct staff to investigate just what we just spoke about, as well as contact Trent Hills to find out their information, how they get the information about licensing, and then include that in our information session, if that makes sense. CAO Bob?
Yes, it makes sense. Through you, Mayor Martin, we will arrange for an education session.
All right. Do I have a seconder for that? Is there a seconder there for that? Deputy Mayor Giroux? All in favor of that motion? And that's carried. And that's it for me and other business. I'll carry it. Barry, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a few things here. One was Premier Ford at the convention. You know, his statement, he goes on and on. I don't know whether most of you get the community press or not, but you know, the best way to get the economy going is making critical investments in infrastructure. He said his government is spending millions to spur, you know, the economic and build more quickly, roads, bridges, highways, and transit. So, and highway transit can start in 12 months, sooner transit. Face fewer roadblocks, modern long-term care homes can go up in a month, not years, and we won't waste a single second. And we won't waste a single dollar in getting these projects built, he said. So who do we get in touch with now? What minister? You know, like the Premier is saying these things. It was right in the paper. So I would like to, I don't know whether our own MPP can pass this along. I would imagine he could. I know the other minister that we asked before there, the only one that answered our question, in fact, our MPP didn't, was Piscini or whatever his name is from Northumberland. But we do need some help to get this going. You know, like he comes right out and says we can get on it right away, quick. Well, quick is how many years, like it has been. And he says, no, it can be months. It can be started right away. So let's find out.
So Barry, like I said at the last meeting, that this is something that's for new builds or new ones coming forward. That's not us. We're already in the queue and it is coming. And all we can do is believe what we're told. That's for some new ones that are trying to get into the long-term care thing. And we're already past that. We've been accepted. All we're being told is it's going to happen here soon. So that's for new ones. So like I know Selwyn's looking for one over there and they aren't in the queue that we are.
Mr. Mayor, 2.5 years ago, this was approved.
Yeah.
It's 2.5 years ago. It was, and we're still saying, oh, we got to wait and see where we are in the queue. Like hell we do. You know, we can be maybe a little more aggressive, because this has gone on way too long, and it's something that we need. And you know, the Premier says you need it, so why would he? I don't care what the rules have changed. We had an agreement 2.5 years ago, and it was signed, sealed, but did not deliver. And all we keep hearing is, oh, we've got to sign another paper. It hasn't gone through yet. Well, that's bull crap. I don't care whether it's a COVID section or not. This man is promising for it to start forward with all these bills. So we gotta press somebody. We just can't fluff it off
I
and
have
say,
been, Barry, I have been, and there's only so much we can do. Like, don't think that we aren't working on this thing, and the communication is
well, we're
out
not
there.
doing enough. We're not doing enough. What are you gonna do?
You got there? You got
Eh?
anything else? What else have you got there?
No, what else have I got here? Well, the 8th line south that's been rebuilt.
Beautiful.
I've had some complaints there. I took Bob down just to show him, because what's going to be required there? Have you been down there, Jim?
Yeah, they did a beautiful job. I was out there this week, and I went to Burnt Dam and I went to the 8th line, and it's fantastic. They did a great job. I just looking forward to the hard top.
Well, I hope you've going to have guardrails, because there's about a 6 or 7 foot drop off on that.
Same on 44 when they did it, but if people can drive, they can manage. So,
Okay.
Dave, did you want to comment to that?
Just to a comment over Councillor Pomeroy's. I did drive that. I did have some complaints. I was supposed to accompany a gentleman, but he couldn't go, so I did drive it. Again, I think they did a super job. Yes, it is high. County Road 44 was high. I didn't agree with that. This is extremely high, but I never ask either Ryan or Peter, but I can only assume that they followed all the rules and regulations. If the government requires guardrails there, I imagine they're prepared to put them there. I don't know what more I can comment on that.
Okay. Well, and the other one was playground equipment at the West End Park. They took a piece out and nothing's been replaced. I've had quite a few parents questioning why we haven't put something back. It was one of those ones, I guess, where you go hand over hand, and Ryan would probably know which one it was. Ryan, you're there. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So you're referring to the climber that was located at the Concession Street Park.
I think so.
That was, yes, that's the piece of equipment. We had to remove that through the third-party inspections that were completed last year. It was deemed non-compliant, and that the work that was going to be needed to retrofit it was not feasible. Council may recall that there was $25,000 in the proposed budget this year to replace playground equipment as we remove stuff for non-compliant issues. Unfortunately, that didn't make it through the final round of budgets. So hopefully next year we can add some more in there and hopefully replace what was removed.
Okay, thank you. And truck repairs on the old truck and the old tandem. Somebody said there was another problem with that. I think maybe Peter might be able to enlighten us on that. Are you there, Pete?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, we did get the DPF turbo retarder and the exhaust issue fixed. But since then, it had a slow leak in the main dump hydraulic cylinder, and we're just monitoring it right now. In the winter, obviously, we don't dump very often, so we're just kind of using it sparingly. Hopefully, we do not have to go ahead and get that repaired. It is leaking, but unless you actually put the box up, it's not leaking continuously.
Okay, so what was the repair on it? What was the cost?
It was right close to $10,000.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, that was the major, it's the regen part of the exhaust, the filter in it that plugs, and it's, yeah, unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast, to say.
Okay, and the back of the dump, how come it sits down there all the time? Peter?
We're in there quite a fair bit in there, Councillor Pomeroy. So it's just on the weekend, sometimes we're in there twice a day on Sundays. So it just saves a guy coming into the shop and then going back and forth. So that's the reason. We've been in there last Sunday. I think we were in there twice, and morning and night. So it just saves us some time is all that does. Yeah.
It's only a mile up the road to put it in our own compound.
Yeah, and we have put it in the sand shed dome as well to keep it closer for us too as well. But we can go back to putting in our own compound on the 6-line shop for sure.
Okay. Another one was there's garbage behind the arena. It's been there all year. There's some tin cups and a bunch of stuff. I know when you make the circle around past that turnaround there.
Just before, I just have to ask council, we're at 1:30 right now. I'm just wondering if everybody wants to take a half-hour break here for lunch. I didn't realize this is going to run this long, and I don't know how much longer. Yeah, okay. No, I know, but I imagine there's some more. So, okay, finish this one here, and then council, let me know what you want to do, okay?
Yep, garbage behind the dump. All they have to do is just drive around the back of the road there, and there's 2 spots where there's garbage that's been there for a while. Okay, end mine.
Hey, Ryan, you aware? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to respond to Councillor Pomeroy's concern. We'll certainly have some staff have a look at that. I wasn't aware of that, but just in the future, if there's any maintenance items such as some garbage that needs picked up, please feel free to just let me know. You don't have to wait for a council meeting to let us know some of those things. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what's council's thoughts here? I don't know. There's still Larry and Hart for other business that I have here, and then our new business, and then we got the bylaws. Can we get through this in the next 15 minutes or so? Okay. All right. I haven't seen a hand actually from Larry or Hart. Did you have anything in new business?
Just very briefly.
Fine. I don't want to rush. That's why I say we can take a lunch and.
No, I'm just 2 minutes. I'll be done. I just wanted council to be aware at the 6th line, Preston Road and Burnt Dam Road. They've done a great job there starting the resurface. There is when Deputy Mayor Giroux spoke about ditching, there is quite a hole right up at the top of the hill. Looked like some ATVs had cut across through the grass there, and of course they ended up in the hole. Whether they did it purposely or ended up face first into the gravel pit there, I don't know. Anyway, Pete went back this morning and put some pylons just as a warning. And next week, I believe that corner is going to be addressed. As council agreed, we're going to clean that corner off. So when they clean that corner off, a lot of that hole is going to be filled in, just so council is aware. Thank you.
Okay. And everything okay back there? Oh, I see Peter there. Okay. Everything's okay there, Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, I do. Tomorrow, actually, I have an excavator coming to do the grubbing on that intersection. So that'll be taken care of tomorrow into Wednesday.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Hart, did you have anything in new business? And it's not because I'm rushing, eh? Okay. All right, then. So that's the end of new business. So we have 2 bylaws that we haven't addressed here. If we move on to them. The first bylaw is a bylaw for the acquisition of part of Lot 180, Plan 12, Geographic Township. This is the Patterson property there. A motion to move the bylaw, moved by Councillor Pomeroy and seconded by Councillor Ellis. All in favor? And that's carried. And the next one was the authorize the execution of the agreement to purchase and sale between the corporation and Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to Heather McMaster with regards to the landlocked property. Do I have a mover for that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Giroux, 10 years waiting, and Councillor Webb. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, and next we have the confirming bylaw, or no, the bylaw to amend the proceedings of the council to allow electronic meetings. Moved by Councillor Webb, seconded by Councillor Ellis. Bless you. All in favor? Carried. And now we're looking for the confirming bylaw. That went quicker than I thought. Confirming bylaw, Councillor Webb. Second, Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. And motion to adjourn. Councillor Pomeroy. Deputy Mayor Giroux. All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, everyone. And sorry for rushing the end there. I just thought we were going to get into supper. So anyway, so we have a closed session.
Time.
Bob, is that at 2:30?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, we scheduled closed session for 2:30 in the chamber. If you wish, we can move it to 3 o'clock, if that works better.
An hour is good for me, but it's up to council.
Good for me.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. Does that work better for you, Hart?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
I gotta get
You're
over the old fashioned before it goes.
Everybody okay with 3 o'clock?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
3 o'clock it is.
3 o'clock, council chamber. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
Thank you
for everything today.